Good morning. It's another Thursday morning on the AM show right here on the Joy News channel. We don't take it lightly that you join us every week morning for this all-encapsulating program where we bring you news that matters and conversations that resonates with you. So if you've been following for a while, you know that in a bit, first on our list is the news. And after that, we'll get into the news review. Now, today, Kojo Poku, the energy analyst and chairman of Manifesto Committee on Energy, will be joining us to review what stories are in the newspapers. And after that, Muftar Nabil Abdullahi will be here to bring you the latest updates from the world of sports. And then we pivot into our top stories for the day. Today being Thursday, we have AM exclusive, and we'll engage Dr. Kojo Esiam-Mensah Abrampa, the Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, on Ghana development agenda and how far we have come with our development planning. So you want to stay for that conversation. Also, Attorney General makes a push for the Apex Court to telecast live matters of national interest on regular basis. We'll interrogate the idea as the public, in a rare occasion yesterday, watched court proceedings as Supreme Court adjourned indefinitely Richard Delaskai's application, seeking a declaration that a Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill is null and void and of no effect. Her Ladyship, Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Sake Tokono, said this was to enable counsel for the plaintiff file a fresh motion paper with supporting affidavits and statements of case by May 17. We'll deal with these matters as they are arising. So you want to stay with us and join us with your comments and your thoughts either via phone. We haven't opened the phone lines in a while. Hopefully today we get the time to do that. And you can also join us across all social media platforms at Joy News on TV. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and I do this with Benjamin Akagbor. First on our list, the news. Let's get into that. Thanks for joining us. This is the AM News. Let's get into the details, starting with there's a strong push to allow the live telecast of high-profile cases that go before the courts to increase transparency. The Chief Justice accepted a recommendation by the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboadami, to allow a live telecast of cases filed against the Anti-LGBTQ+, two of which were at the Supreme Court yesterday. Godfrey Yeboadami says this is crucial in the interest of transparency. Now, a member of our Legal Affairs Desk, Kweku Asante, has more from the Supreme Court, where the injunction applications against the Anti-LGBTQ Bill were caught up in the technicalities and fiery exchange of words.
It was barely 24 hours for the Supreme Court to commence hearing. The Attorney General wrote to the Chief Justice asking for journalists to be allowed to broadcast proceedings because of the huge public interest in the case, a request the Chief Justice accepted. The courtroom was packed, and the huge public interest in the case was obvious. Sponsors of the bill expected that the court would decide on the two injunction applications, potentially paving way for Parliament to try again to serve the President with copies of the bill passed by the House for his assent. But there was an anticlimax. The substance of the injunction application were not even discussed. First, lawyers for Richard Delaskai had two applications.
On notice for an order for leave to amend the release. On our motion or notice for an order of interlocutory injunction filed on the 7th of March 2024.
Even before the lawyer would conclude his application, Thaddeus Sori, a lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament, was on his feet in opposition.
Yeah, my lords, we have a preliminary point of law to take with regard to this particular application by way of an objection, and that would be the only ground upon which we would be dealing with this application. And yes. Well, there are two ways, but it's actually...
You gave no notice of
it. It is
you gave no notice of it, did you?
Not by way of a formal application.
There was intense back and forth between Thaddeus Sori and Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, who presided over the panel.
I'm sorry.
No, my lady, I've got it right.
You can hear me very well.
Yes, my lady.
You appreciate the pickle we are in.
Yes, my lady.
You filed an affidavit on the 15th of... Please hold on. Don't interrupt me. Please.
Oh, yes, my lady.
Always wait for me to learn.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it.
Your substantive application affidavit before us is dated the 2nd of April. Listen, let me land. If you had just waited to understand my words instead of rushing to justify yourself, you would have admitted that you didn't have a formal notice to object.
My lady, it's
a lawyer,
yes,
like yourself, you found yourself muddled up this morning.
Oh,
yes, you have. A lawyer files. I can see what his difficulty is. When you read, you can see he left out some words. You chose to denigrate that what happened in his expressions by describing it as muddled and confused. And the man now wants to correct himself by expressing it fully. And you say you have a preliminary legal objection.
Yes, my lady.
Where is the legality?
The legality lies in the fact that the motion paper invokes the jurisdiction of the court. And if there is an irregularity on the face of the motion paper, which I am pointing out as the foundation to which I am not accepting what he has found.
No, hold on.
Yes.
Which motion paper?
His motion for injunction.
The man is not seeking... Hold on.
Yes.
Whenever I start, stop.
Oh.
You are going to interrupt me.
Very well.
Then you wouldn't hear what I have to say to you.
Very well, Mali. That once there's an objection taken to it, you cannot overreach that objection with a proposal to amend.
Hold on.
So that's all I'm drawing the court's attention to.
Stop there, Mr. Stop there.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop there. Now, if you had given a formal notice, anyone would have known. But in your affidavit, you only described your opinion.
No, what I found
that's not a preliminary legal objection.
Well, maybe it is not stated that it's stated as an opinion, but what I was stating what I found objectionable about it. And this court has also said that I don't even need that formal notice, that I can get up when he's about to move and take that preliminary objection. Trustees of the Synagogue Church of all nations. And the strain of them from the court that I didn't need.
Mr. Sorry, I'm not impressed by what you are doing.
Very well,
but just finish it.
I'm sorry. So,
finish it.
So I'm saying that
it's not fair to your friend. I don't think so. But you want to do it, do it.
I'm relying on the authorities from this court to take my preliminary objection, that I'm entitled to take it just when he's about to move it.
So just do it.
And my second point is that...
No, what is your first point?
The Attorney General was not opposed to the application of the lawyers. The court unanimously granted the prayer of lawyers for Richard Alaskai and allowed his application.
Our considered view is that the alleged preliminary objection is unnecessary and does not seek to assist any process before this court. Every party has an inherent right to present the appropriate formulation of their reliefs or other process before the court. The objection is dismissed.
As the court pleases, Valley.
You've taken our time and energy for nothing.
Then came the second case against the bill filed by researcher Dr. Amanda Odoi. Lawyers for Dr. Amanda Odoi raised objections against the language employed by Thaddeus Sori, a position the Chief Justice largely agreed with. But Thaddeus Sori says he had a reason for using such language.
It's necessary to say this. Mr. Sori, some of the material in your affidavit is extremely intemperate. I know they are not your affidavit, especially the affidavit of Mary Wendy Yeboah, which you have now withdrawn. Do well not to introduce such material.
I'm most grateful, my lady. Sometimes you respond to what comes from the other side. That's the reason. But I'm taking cue. When they take a shot at you, you throw something back.
In this case also, the court ruled that Thaddeus Sori withdraws the process and file it again without the language the court described as temperate and inappropriate. Lawyers for Richard Alaskai say they are happy with how proceedings went, expressing support for the decision to allow the broadcast.
Our
courts have nothing to hide, especially in this country. These constitutional matters are best placed in public domain so that everybody will hear and understand, to stop some of these speculations we have all around us. It puts an end to this making rounds of stories. We sometimes sound very strange.
Meanwhile, Attorney General and Minister for Justice Godfrey Yeboadame says the courts must lean more towards allowing the live telecast of such constitutional cases with huge public interest.
If you recall, about 2 years ago, one of my speeches to the Ghana Bar Association actually made a point that indeed, if the media were to have full and unhindered access to proceedings and all, it becomes so clear to the general public that when rulings are given by the court, they're actually on account of principles of law, and indeed most of the rulings of the court are right. I have suffered a lot personally in terms of the misrepresentation of court rulings and deliberate misrepresentation of what I say in court and what I do and all that. So I thought that the best way to avoid any undue misrepresentation of facts is to ensure transparency.
The hope by the Speaker of Parliament and sponsors of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill that there would have been conclusion on the injunction applications filed to restrain the Speaker of Parliament in terms of transmitting the bills to the President to sign would have been resolved today, have now been dashed. The court will now have to set a new date to constitute the panel to hear them. But the Speaker of Parliament's lawyers, obviously on the floor, quite pressing so hard to get this case to progress without the need to adjourn. Reporting for Joy News, Kwiku Asante from the Supreme Court here in Accra.
Away from that, he's a monarch whose exemplary leadership has brought esteemed glory and dignity to his kingdom and etched the rich traditions and culture of the Asantes into global history books. Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, the 16th occupant of the Golden Stool, has become the beacon of peace and a true leader par excellence. Bright Emmanuel Kweku tells the tale of a gallant man of the Asante, Berima Kweku Dia, whose legacies will be ingrained in the hearts and minds of not just his people, but Ghana and the world.
Monday, April 26, 1999, when Berima Kweku Dia, as he was then known, swore the oath of allegiance to Asanteman and ascended the Golden Stool, Sikeja Kofi. He became the 16th Asante monarch and bore the name of the first Asantehene, Opemso Nana Osei-Tutu, after the death of his brother, Nana Opokuwari.
You have to vie for the position with a number of people. In his case, about 6 people came to ask for vie for the position. And then the final authority is the Queen Mother. And the Queen Mother selected him.
His ascension came with the natural gifts of calm and radiance, which instantly inspires loyalty and motivates people around him. Not only has he won the hearts of his people, but the admiration of all, even beyond the shores of Ghana.
He doesn't discriminate. He loves everyone. He walks here personally to ask about how we are faring.
The vision of Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II encompasses education, health, and economic development.
If we should go back in Ashanti history, it's like Osebosu, who was king of Ashanti. In the situation that we found ourselves with the negotiating, I think his diplomacy transcended everything else.
He was very charming in the first meeting we had with the Victoria and Albert Museum and also with the British Museum.
Shortly after his installments, the 247 Foundation was launched as a relief plan for his people and as an extension, the whole of Ghana.
Through the World Bank assistance grant given to him, the fund was able to put up 6 classroom block, 6 teachers' apartment, loo, and then mechanized borehole. All this as a package for 22 different rural communities. Now we can boast of people in responsible positions in Ghana who, if not having the help offered by the king, they wouldn't have gotten to where they are now.
He made me pay bills of at least 35 students.
More than 35 school fees.
The Asante-Hene's pivotal role in women empowerment in the kingdom cannot be overlooked.
We knew how the system was working. Even if Queen Mother, even programs like maybe the opening of the Jubilee Hall, normally they wouldn't have invited Queen Mothers. His Royal Majesty has really encouraged Queen Mothers for us to know our deep position as a Queen Mother and our rules of engagement. He's really encouraged Queen Mothers to be leaders in our community and just not the regalia that we put on.
Otumfuo Osei has brought peace and reconciliation to his kingdom since he's been in power.
Asante, ya donipa.
Asantes love and tolerate everyone. In February 2020, he became the first person to receive the Pillar of Peace Award. This is in recognition of the efforts that he put in restoring peace to the Dabon Kingdom after nearly 2 decades of chieftaincy crises.
The patience at my sons to resolve, try and find solutions to this, but I don't want anyone to take it for granted. No.
We will continue to pay homage to the Asante-Hene. He has shown love to we the Moses.
Yes, sir, they say, Oman and Quantity, Oman and Wadinyansa. Now, until we form more Ghana, any area singing.
Some of the things that he's doing and some of the things that he has done suggest that he is indeed above the standard of human being. So I would say he is a mini god.
To his people, the Asante-Hene Otumfuo Osei II remains a true leader, a custodian of culture and a protector of the ancestral left in his care. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
Quite a tale there. But in other stories, the Northern Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service is targeting to vaccinate about 38,000 people in the 10th round of COVID-19 vaccination campaign. The region has a total of 3 million people who've been vaccinated, with at least 1.5 receiving their first dose. About 1.3 have been fully vaccinated, with 717,518 receiving their booster. The Northern Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service, Abdullah Abubakari, disclosed this at a media briefing in Tamale.
19 vaccination campaign started on Sunday and is expected to end on Thursday, the 9th of May 2024. This is the 10th vaccination campaign being undertaken by the Northern Regional Health Directorate. The region has had 9 successful vaccination campaigns already. The Northern Regional Health Director, Dr. Abdullah Abubakari, who briefed the media, said the vaccination is on course.
In all, I mentioned a total target of 7,516, and we have 293 teams of vaccinators and volunteers, and 67 supervisors at different levels. They are all being recruited and trained to undertake this exercise for the campaign period. What strategy are we using? Ladies and gentlemen, our vaccination teams are mounting static sessions at various locations, as well as they move from house to house to vaccinate eligible members of the community, and they usually start from 7 a.m. and end at 5 p.m. each day.
Dr. Abukari gave a breakdown of the COVID-19 cases recorded in the region since 2020.
We want to also take this opportunity to update you and the people of the northern region on the current situation of the COVID outbreak in the region and how much progress we have made in our vaccination efforts. So as of yesterday, Monday, 6th May 2024, the region so far since the outbreak of the pandemic has recorded a total of 1,922 cases. I repeat, since the outbreak occurred 4 years ago, recorded 1,922 cases. And we also recorded 32 deaths. The breakdown is as follows. For this year, 2024, so far we have not recorded any case. No case in the region. In 2023, we recorded 24 cases, but there was no death. In 2022, we recorded 55 cases with 1 death. In 2021, that's when we recorded much of the cases. We recorded a whopping 1,274 cases with 17 deaths. And in 2020, we recorded 569 cases with 14 deaths.
Now, the Mental Health Authority has emphasized the importance of addressing mental health concerns nationwide, particularly among women who are twice as likely to experience mental health issues as men. Acting Director of Medical Services at the Akagbor Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Evezi Kwao, says the challenge of accessing mental health may soon be dealt with as the National Health Insurance Authority has announced it was considering covering the cost of mental health services. Dr. Kwao has been speaking at the launch of Purple Month of Mental Awareness organized by Emerge New Woman.
Access to mental health care continues to be a major challenge as many are unable to access mental health services because of the cost factor. Emerge New Woman, in collaboration with the Mental Health Authority, joined forces to launch Purple Month for Mental Health Awareness, aimed at raising awareness about mental health issues, reducing stigma, and promoting mental health well-being. Speaking on behalf of the Mental Health Authority, Acting Director of Medical Services at the Akagbor Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Evezi Kwao, noted the struggles many go through in accessing mental health services and hinted the challenge may very soon be over.
Okay, so it's been the case in the past that those who are accessing mental health care could not do so on the National Health Insurance. And so we had a scenario where patients who were unable to afford or who did not have any financial resource or backing to seek care on a regular basis were unable to come to the hospital. We had cases where people would relapse and go into a state of illness and then have to go into so many uncomfortable situations. But now the good news is that the NHIA has made mention that very soon, very imminent, with us, we'll be having mental health care being assessed on the National Health Insurance scheme. And so patients can walk into the hospital with their National Health Insurance card and access care for free. This is the outpatient services and also the medications that they get as well. This is very good news for us here in the mental health space, and we're excited about it. We look forward to it starting in the nearest future. This month, like you mentioned, is the Purple Month. It's the month for mental health awareness, and we want to let everyone know that our doors are open as a hospital, Akagbor Psychiatric Hospital, to anyone who is facing any form of challenge in their mental health.
Founder and CEO of Emerge New Woman, Lady May, outlined the purpose of the Purple Month and what her organization, with the support of the Mental Health Authority, is seeking to do.
We are visiting maternal units, women who have just had babies and need support to communicate, to educate, to interact with them so we can support them and draw their attention onto things that are pertaining after delivery, because there are a number of challenges that women go through. We have downplayed it. You know, we've given it different names, but if women don't receive the needed attention, what happens is it prolongs for a long time, it changes their personality, it changes their ability to perform better, it changes even their perception in life, thereby affecting productivity to the nation, because women outnumber men in this nation. There are a number of cases. The cases of mental health issues keeps increasing daily. It keeps increasing. And according to WHO, there's 2.3 million of the population of Ghana affected by mental health. WHO also states that women are twice likely to experience mental health than men. So it calls for attention. It calls for serious attention and support. And this is why we are in the Central Region.
Acting Central Regional Director of Health, Dr. Agnes Anane, emphasized how mental health issues should be a critical concern for all.
What we've decided to do for this month is, one, we formed a team, and the team is going around in our various institutions. We are going to the churches, we are going to the mosques, we are going to the lorry parks, we are going to any place where there are a group of people to educate them about mental health awareness.
The initiative brought together people from academia, the traditional council, students, among others, to increase knowledge about mental health, addressing the stigma surrounding mental health illness, and encouraging help-seeking behaviors among individuals facing mental health challenges.
For our final story, let me take you back to the Shanti region, where the Education Directorate has tasked heads of second cycle schools to be innovative and exhibit exceptional leadership to be self-resourced in running their institutions. The management teams of the schools are being trained to effectively run their respective schools, demanding less from the government. The training will ensure the sustainability of public educational institutions. Here's a report by Clinton Yeboah.
Public schools are often poorly resourced. The quality of teaching and learning, control and running of day-to-day activities of schools are characterized by limited supply of resources and inadequately skilled staff. This has informed an intervention from the Ashanti Regional Education Directorate to offer training to institutional heads, administrators, accountants, heads of departments, deans of disciplines and matrons from about 150 senior high schools in the region. The Maiden Ashanti Regional Education Leadership Summit is themed Touching the Heart, Head and Hand through Transformational Leadership with a Global Approach. Regional Director of Education Dr. William Amankor Apia says the in-house training is to enhance the quality of education provided to students.
Their headship, their directorship, the way they manage education. We want an improvement upon that. It's a training. How can we be so fruitful? How can we have critical mindsets? How can we see we have our curriculum, we have everything, but how can we still work in having a critical mindset?
The training paired life coach and industry experts for school heads to explore effective leadership styles focused on innovation, emotional intelligence and self-resourcing. Former rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GEMPA, Professor Stephen Ade, is entreating school heads to employ personal investment opportunities to be financially stable.
Saying is this, that at the end of the day, at best you should take your salary as a seed, and you must take responsibility for your own financial future. You use your salary as a catalyst. But no matter what you do, I don't think that the average teacher is going to be paid enough to meet all their needs. They must also aim at making sure that they do save and invest for their own future, either in tier 3 of the pension scheme in Ghana or elsewhere. No matter what they do, of course, everybody wants a salary increase. I want it, you want it. But what I'm saying is that alone will not solve their long-term financial needs, especially in their retirement. And they must save and invest. And I'm encouraging all of them to aim at becoming millionaires.
Former Ashanti Regional Director of the Ghana Education Service, Joseph Onyina, is admonishing school heads to champion a competency-based education agenda in schools.
That is that our current education system is examination focused. The education examination focused. People do all that they can to ensure that they pass and get the good grades. And that reform is that our education now must be competency based. Curriculum must be competency based. We will assess students as to what they are able to do.
Reporting for Joy News. My name is Clinton Yeboah.
On that note, we wrap up the AM News. Up next is the news review, and Kojo Poku, the energy analyst and chairman of the Manifesto Committee on Energy, will be joining us for that. Please don't go away. For staying with us. It's still the AM show on the Joy News channel. With me in the studio this morning is the man of the moment. Can I hear some?
What? How did I become the man of the moment?
Benjamin Akagbor.
Here's what I noticed.
Good.
We're sort of blending colors today.
I think it's just something that
There's something.
we do.
There's something. Viewers, we never plan anything. But if you look at my shade
look
and my...
at us. I see what you mean.
Yeah, my navy blue pants. And the background is awesome. Shouts to our director, Yao Forsen, for making it happen all the time. But
You don't think you're man of the moment?
man of the moment, Sese.
We are man of the moment.
Nah. You know, I like to stay away from the limelight. You don't know that about me, eh?
You're on television.
I like to be in the background.
You're a
Unfortunately...
morning show host, for God's sakes, Benjamin.
Anyway.
Is that a power bank from yesterday?
Relax. I told you I had a song for you. Do you want to hear the song?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it after bringing in Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
Okay.
Anyway, they help us bring you this news review segment every weekday morning. And today is none different. They're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Let's start with Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady and Naji State, Tema Community 22, Techim and Hanswa, and Esiamanzima. Their call lines, two of them, 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
The end to chronic disease.
You know that Shatawale song?
Okay, here we go.
My Level.
Here we go, guys.
You know that song? You know the chorus?
I know my level.
I know my level.
Okay.
No, my level.
Okay.
Maybe last night I no get light, but tonight I go get light.
Them say do you.
Some work for my house.
Oh,
but ECG won't worry me. I go show all of them tragedy. Cause no be today, doom so start to. So if I sing my song, if I sing I'm for long, cause you don't know when ECG will come to you for a light, oh. So if you see me today, I know my level. I know my level.
Did you rehearse
that? My level. If you see me with my power bank today, I know my level. I know my level.
Listen, I don't want to be too excited so that they take my light away tonight. I need it.
So someone actually sent me 2 power banks from the States. I told you the other day.
Yeah, yesterday.
Got someone coming. And I've given one out because sharing is caring.
Yeah.
And you know the funny thing? Yesterday, I got home in the evening, having my bath, and then feel. You know, I've told you that I can't do heat. So when the light goes off, I must necessarily go, if I've already had a shower, go and pour water on. So I just smiled because I was already in there. Charlie, I did it. I heard people, they were watching the Champions League, shouting, oh. I was like, me, I don't get that kind of wahala. Had my bath, went to sleep.
And here you are this morning.
Here this morning. We have to do magic to ensure that maybe this, you don't need too much ironing.
Because you're bashing them too much.
What?
You're bashing ECG, you're bashing the minister.
No.
So they've targeted...
Actually, on the contrary...
I'm just messing around.
No. On the contrary, I'm going to advise people for their sanity, their health, don't worry about ECG. You know, people are like, oh, but I've prepaid. I've paid you for the service in advance. So you must give me... BPO. High blood pressure. Relax. Yesterday, they did it to me. I kept quiet, had my bath. I listened to some music on my phone with the battery power that was left. And I used my power bank, got some juice, and then... So, ECG, forgive them. They know not what they say. Forgive them.
But joining us this morning to get into the stories from the newspaper, in a bit, we'll be joined by Kojo Poku, energy analyst. Maybe he can shed some light on...
I hope he heard the song.
The status of this... Yeah.
I hope he heard the song, especially because of where he is. If he didn't, I'll give him an encore. I'll repeat the song. But anyway, let's quickly make tracks until he joins us. Kojo Poko is an energy analyst. Let's start with the papers we have. You have the Daily Graphic, please.
I have the Daily Graphic. On the front page, of course, as expected, the legal challenge to LGBTQ plus bill. Supreme Court demands fresh documents. So we'll get into that story later. I just want to do the headlines on the front page. Repose confidence in EC. Commission response to registration slip errors. Climate change, Galamsey remain greatest threat to cocoa production. 24-hour economy key to unlocking employment opportunities, according to Professor Jainana Opoku-Agyeman. Now let's do the Supreme Court story first. It reads, the Supreme Court yesterday directed parties involved in the challenge of the constitutionality of the Human and Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, commonly referred to as the Anti-LGBTQ Bill, to refile fresh documents. So the Apex Court consequently adjourned the cases indefinitely. The cases, which were called separately, were filed by broadcaster and lawyer Richard Sky and a human rights activist, Dr. Amanda Odoi. Now, the business of the day was to deal with the fundamental issues standing in the way of the substantive suits. But before we even react to these stories, I want to welcome aboard Kojo Poku, energy analyst and chairman of the Manifesto Committee on Energy. Welcome aboard the AM show.
Hi, good morning, my sister. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Benjamin had a song this morning. I don't know if you heard him sing it.
No, I've not. I would love to hear Ben sing. Ben, any vocal a cappella for Kojo?
Are you sure you want the song?
Yes, definitely, Ben. You know, you and me, from you, I welcome it. Most definitely. Yes.
All right. Since you asked for an encore, I guess I'm going to have to do this.
Yeah.
Are you going to give me backup?
Yes.
Okay.
You know I got you. Let's go. Let's do this.
Maybe last night I no get light, but tonight I go get light. Because I get some work to do for my house, so. But I say, ECG, won't worry me. I go show all of that tragedy. No be today, doom so start to. So if I sing my song, I go sing them for long.
Hey.
Because you never know when ECG will come to you for your light, too.
So if you see the power bank today,
I know my level. I know my level. Oh, my level. If you see me with my power bank today, I know my level.
Yeah.
I accept. I know my level.
Ben, you know what?
Oh, my level. Welcome aboard, Kojo.
We should definitely get you to do a campaign song for Dr. Baumia.
What?
Yeah, we should get Ben to do a campaign song for Dr. Baumia. Because look, I never knew you are such talent. You have such a talent. You are so talented. Ben, why are you in the studio? Let's go to the music studio.
I should be singing, huh?
I was hoping you would go past his musical prowess and get to the content of the song, you know?
Oh, but allow him to enjoy the musical prowess before he gets to the song.
The content of the song, I don't know the problems he has. I don't know where he lives. I don't know what problems he has in his area. How can I go towards that? All I know is that Ben is gifted. I want him to do a campaign song for Dr. Baumia.
Right.
Thank you, Kojo. That was just on the lighter side, though.
We'll put a pin in that.
It's nice to see you guys. How are you doing?
We are okay. You're looking colorful as always. Good to have you.
All right, thank you very much. Anything for Ben, you know, me and you, we go way back, so why not?
Definitely. We usually give about a minute or two, so let's do 1 minute. Any matter that's burning on your chest, the burning issue, then Sweetie will delve straight into the papers.
Well, I think it's the ongoing registration, the voter registration. EC is not doing well. There's been network challenges all across the country, and I think it's really disheartening. You know, some of these young ones are very enthused to get on the register to do what we've called the Asida Abba in December 7th to basically thank the good NDC, MPP government for the free SHS, and all these kids are very enthused. And they go to the centers and they can register 2 days in a row. Some have to go and come back home without being able to register. Areas that can do as much as 300 registration a day is doing like 84 or 100. So I think we plead with the EC to be up and going. Yesterday, they issued a directive that the centers can do offline. We hope that goes well today. So we want to monitor and plead with the EC to get this thing sorted.
Right. So
well, at least yesterday, just a few hiccups here and there, still a few things to deal with. But I think gradually the process will become better.
Right.
All we want is for everyone who qualifies to be registered to have the opportunity of doing so. If you qualify and you don't go and get registered, that's a different matter. But if you go and you can't get registered or there are too many delays, and you know, sometimes we take some things for granted. For some people, they have to trek. I know constituencies where it's a very sparse settling. So you have one settlement here. The next settlement is very far. And sometimes where the registration center in between, you either have to walk a number of kilometers or you have to board a car. And, you know, for some people, we take these things for granted.
It's being done, Ben, it's being done at the district office. So everybody has to go to the district office.
You're not getting me. Even the district office, some people, when you look at the proximity, I've engaged some you know, constituents and even MPs, the distance, it's not exactly friendly. So I'm saying if the person does come after all the effort and then can't get registered, you know what that means. So I'm just hoping that things get better.
And that is the problem. And it would basically make some of these people lose the enthusiasm that they have. You know, so look, what I'm pleading is that in their letter yesterday, they made mention that they will make sure everybody is registered, even if it means extending the 27 deadline, which I think is what they should do. Because after all, the registration is an
but is it not too early to call for an extension when we don't even know the numbers?
No, I'm just saying. No, but hold on. Let me give you an example, okay? There are certain areas that we know can register, let's say 4,000, 5,000, based on last year's limited registration. And we know the numbers that they did last year in the limited registration. So as at now, you see, bear in mind, for you to be able to do a certain amount, there's only 21 days. So you divide the number of people you register a day by the number of people that you think are in your constituency that you can register. If you can do, let's say, 600 in 2 days, and you've only done, let's say, 160, clearly there is an immediate backlog, which means that of all the rest of the day, either EC brings in more kits for you to basically do those ones that couldn't do the first 2 days, or have to extend it. Yeah. It's a simple mathematics.
Anyway, we just hope for the best, because any extensions would also mean cost and everything in between. But let's get into the papers.
Yeah, so the first story, because you joined us a bit late, I'll do that again. The legal challenge to the LGBTQ bill and the Supreme Court demanding fresh documents. So yesterday, the Supreme Court involved in the challenge of the constitutionality of the Human and Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, commonly known as the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. As for the documents to be refiled, so the apex courts consequently adjourned the cases indefinitely. The cases, which were called separately, were filed by broadcaster and lawyer Richard Sky and a human rights activist, Dr. Amanda Odoi. So the business of the day was to deal with fundamental issues standing in the way of the substantive suits, but that's not been concluded as at yesterday. I'll add one more story and then I'll come to you for your reactions. Cocoa Board intensifies crackdown on cocoa smuggling syndicates. That story is on page 31 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. The war against illicit activities of cocoa smuggling syndicates, which was launched by Ghana Cocoa Board with support from the state security agencies, continues to yield positive results. Few days after the Krobo Dumasi Circuit Court in the Eastern Region sentenced a man to 7 years in prison for attempting to smuggle bags of cocoa beans from Ghana into neighboring Togo. The court has once again handed 7-year jail term to another suspect, a 38-year-old electrician, for similar offences. The suspect, Kingsley Koto, an electrician, together with Eric Kwabna Dako, a driver aged 41, were arrested at Mamewata community near Japong by personnel of the Anti-Cocoa Smuggling Task Force. These two stories for your quick reactions.
Well, I'll just start with the LGBTQ bill in Parliament. I think, in the Supreme Court. We all hope that the Supreme Court listens to it and give us the judgment so we can basically move on with our lives. We all know the cultural and the religious values of this country. And some of us and most people have stated their position on the LGBTQ. If the Supreme Court deems it fit that it should become law, why not? But we all have subscribed ourselves to rule of law. So let's wait and see what the Supreme Court will come up with. Cocoa smuggling is a bad thing. It's affecting this country so badly. Last year, we didn't. This season that we are in, actually, the 2023-2024 season, we didn't have a lot of cocoa because most of them were being smuggled across borders to either the neighboring Ivory Coast or Togo. It's a very anti-patriotic thing to do when you are having to now basically seek self-interest and actually go for the national interest. And I think it's about time we keep giving these punitive actions to deter people from basically seeking all these, what I call rent seeking. Why would you want to take cocoa from Ghana to Togo when you can easily sell it and then get the required amount? The government has increased the value based on the world market prices that's being based. Now you are getting more for your cocoa beans that you were getting before. So I don't really know what the motives are, but it's good that we are giving punitive actions for some of these things.
Right. Benjamin, any quick thoughts before I do one last story?
I think it's all been said between the two of you.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. BEC candidates to write 3 new subjects. So final year junior high school students in the country will be writing 3 new subjects in this year's BECE. The new subjects are career technology, creative arts and design, and Arabic. The career technology and creative arts design are called from previous basic design and technology and will be written by all candidates, the West African Examination Council has said. How does that sit with you? I mean, from pre-book,
did you say Arabic? Did you say Arabic?
Yeah, Arabic. So Arabic and career technology and design.
Are they options or everybody have to write Arabic?
Everyone.
You have an option of who?
Everyone.
Why Arabic? Why Arabic?
I think that's a question for WAEC and Ghana Education Service.
Are you asking, Kojo, for the reason because you want to find out why we're heading towards that trajectory, or is it about the usefulness? Because as someone who studied languages and is fluent in a number of them, I actually wish at the time I was studying political science, French and Spanish, I could have added Arabic. But let's find out why.
Arabic will be optional for candidates in Islamic basic schools. Only that, but the others
exactly. So it's good we clarify that. Arabic cannot be a compulsory subject. It's optional. Yes, so if you want to do Arabic, then that's fine. Ben would have done Arabic if he had a choice. I would have done Latin if I had a choice. When I went to Pokuwari, the year I entered, they have stopped Latin the year before, which for me was
you missed that.
I mean, because I could have now me and you would have engaged in some Latin words by now. But hey, it's good that WAEC is introducing. I know some schools are doing Mandarin and all these things. It's good to have a second language. But I think that since we have neighboring countries that are all speaking French, I don't know why we stopped pushing the French and the Chi. You know, it's becoming so obvious that now you walk into most households and the kids in that household cannot speak Chi. It's crazy, right?
Why not say and the kids in that household cannot speak their local language because it is ever. People don't now a lot of the young people don't speak it.
So
it could be Chi, it could be Nzema, it could be Ahanta.
Cannot speak the local. Ben, I'm an Ashanti. Don't blame me for the bias, please. People in the local people in the household cannot speak their mother tongue. Let me use that. Okay, cannot speak their mother tongue, which for me is amazing because I met a very prominent Chi presenter with his son in the mall. The son can speak Chi. And I'm like, my brother, you are on TV talking Chi, every day interrogating people. Your son cannot speak the language you used to work every day. He says, the wife doesn't speak Chi to them at home.
I think it's because the language we write and, the language we communicate in is English. So they want to give them that as a strong foundation so that they're not struggling with the language when they have to read, write, communicate in the language.
It's deteriorating our local dialects. It's deteriorating our local dialects.
But you know,
most of these young ones can't speak local dialects.
Unless we nationalize our local dialects, I think that...
Well, the Speaker of Parliament at a point was talking about even using the local language in Parliament. But this is what I'm going to say. When you have children who are adept at using their local language, it is very easy for them to learn English and French and other languages. Part of why people struggle with those languages is because they are not so comfortable with their local languages. It's been proven scientifically. So if you know whether it is Chi, Nzema, Ahanta, and you know what this is, you know that yellow is Akukosra Adie, you know that green is ahabambunu or something of the sort, then it is easier for you to translate akokrosadie to yellow and all of that. But once you don't have that basis and you're going straight into someone's language, that's why we have weaknesses when it comes to studying those languages. And, well, it will continue because it doesn't look like we are going to do anything about it anytime soon.
Anyway.
Oh, well, very sad.
Yeah.
Benjamin, what papers do you have?
I have the Daily Guide newspaper. I have the New Finder newspaper as well. So Freddie Blake extols Otumfuo. Have you followed the story of how Otumfuo met his wife?
Yes. And an EcoBank, something she gave
legal.
Thanks,
she was head of legal.
And then she was summoned for a dinner later that evening.
Brah.
Yeah, later she found out that she was auditioning for the role. I like how she worded it, it was beautifully read.
Auditioning. Yeah, but it was a lovely story, You never know where you'll find love. Anyway, so there's also no cause for alarm. EC Mahama fires back at Nana. SC adjourns anti-gay bill indefinitely. 3 arrested at voter registration center. Yesterday the Daily Guide captured the story. Mahama will destroy my legacy or something. That was Nanado. So I don't know whether this firing back is Mahama.
It was on his
that.
Twitter actually.
Yeah, I saw that post. But let's quickly get into it. Starting from page 3. Supreme Court adjourns anti-gay bill indefinitely. You've already delved into that, so I'll avoid that. AstraZeneca withdraws COVID-19 vaccine, and the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, widely used in saving lives during the pandemic, is being recalled. According to the manufacturers, the withdrawal of the vaccine was a commercial decision, expressing how incredibly proud it was of the COVID-19 vaccine. AstraZeneca said its vaccine was estimated to have saved millions of lives during the pandemic. Then,
did you
Mahama?
take AstraZeneca?
I think I took 1 dose of AstraZeneca, and I think I took another dose of Moderna, and then I took about 4 jabs. So the regular 2 plus 2 booster shots, because at a point...
And these commercial reasons, how does it sit with you?
Commercial reasons. But they are saying commercial reasons.
What if it's side effects that are, starting to come to light?
One thing I know, pharmaceutical, and I'm not pinning anything on AstraZeneca or the Oxford group, but I'm saying that pharmaceutical entities usually there are things that have happened and it's only decades later that people found stuff and complications ended up in court. So I don't know, but they are saying it is commercial reasons. For now, we'll stick to that.
Yeah.
Flag bearer of the opposition NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has responded to President Akufo-Addo's recent remarks, urging Ghanaians not to vote for him since this will truncate the flow and natural progression of the country. According to the president, voting back Mr. Mahama will damage the gains made during his tenure, asserting that the ex-president will only run down the country. But the former president responded at a rally in Dobore in the eastern region. He said, "This is our election year and the limited registration has started. Anybody who hasn't registered and is eligible should go and register." He also said, "When the time is up for the voting, our job is simple. The person I defeated and my work since I took over seems not to please..." Okay, so that is the president. "Since I took over seems not to please him. I cannot hand over power to such a person. He will destroy whatever we have done when he comes." So that's the president. But in response, Mr. Mahama says, let me just get to the quote so I don't. He says, "Of course, I will not protect your legacy of corruption, misgovernance, arrogance, ineptitude, bankrupt economy, increased unemployment, and pushing more of our people into the poverty bracket," he posted on social media. And under that post, when the president said what he did, I heard people asking him, but, back then when you took over, he was supposed to be like Mike Tyson, I'm using this word, baddest person on the planet, baddest person in Ghana. But he handed over to you. You had criticized him ad nauseum, but he handed over to you. Quick thoughts on that, Kojo Poku?
Well, I don't think everybody's talking about handing over. I think Ghana, we've gone past that issue of will somebody hand over. What the president is talking about is the utterances of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. He's been using the word reset, which is really giving a lot of people pause. And I think that Ghanaians should pay attention to some of these words that His Excellency John Dramani is using. Reset means a lot. And for me, I think we should interrogate what
does it mean to you? What does it mean to you?
Well, it means that everything, look, government is continuous. We can't take one step forward and two steps back. When you come and your predecessor has done something, that's why do you reset? You basically review, yes, but reset for me it's crazy because it means that
you've not answered my question. What does a reset mean for you?
It means scratching everything off and starting from scratch, which is a problem because he only has 4 years. How do you come in and what your predecessors have done, you're going to basically scrap it and start from scratch? That's what reset means.
Do you realize that there are many meanings that could be read from reset? You remind me of Donald Trump. Relax. Let's have a conversation. Donald Trump, when he said he was going to drain the swamp and all of that, what did he mean? He said corruption. No, I'm just trying to make a point. Relax. Let me make my point, then you come in.
Okay.
Corruption and institutionalization and other things. He was going to change that. In fact, he tried in a way to do that. But of course, the Constitution and other things will still hold you in check. Resetting doesn't mean starting everything from scratch. That's not the only meaning. Ben, it could mean that in some instances as well, you would do things differently, doesn't it?
I just want to also chip in that you said he only has...
No, I am not. We are talking, this is semantics. And we are talking of a word. So I don't get...
time. Hold on. This is his post. He says that it's time to reset Ghana. He never said reset some things. He said reset Ghana. Anybody who reads that should have pause. Because straight away, what it means is that he wants to stop, scratch, and start afresh.
Do you get that same pulse when... Hold on. Do you get that same pulse or the pause you are speaking of when you hear Mr. President say, I can't hand over to the former president. The only person I can hand over to is Dr. Bawumia. Do you get that same pause when you hear that? Do you get that same pause? Does it worry you?
Again, Ben, if you put it like that, then your word...
that one there, if you put it like that...
Hold on. But hold on, Ben. We are using words. You can go into the dictionary right now and tell me what reset means. Reset means to scrap and scratch and start afresh. That's what reset is. If you reset your phone right now, what happens? Everything goes to factory settings. So when somebody's telling me to reset, what are we yesterday? Look, I did a small piece, and other people brought on other dimensions that look, you don't even look at him scrapping the free senior high school. There are other motives that probably is hidden that we don't know. But for me, when somebody says that I'm going to reset, then if I'm president, I'll say that, look, I will not want this guy to succeed me because he will come and scrap everything that I have done. Basically, scrap my legacy.
All right. I guess that's your whole understanding of it. We can't begrudge you for making that your understanding.
Not at all. Since you asked me what it means, that's my
Exactly. And that's why no one will, contest you on that.
And again, let's talk about the beautiful birthday celebration of our great king, basically coinciding with 25 years of the king on the throne. Beautiful story shared by the lovely Lady Julia. I think from time to time, Joy FM will host a program where people like you, Ben, will come and tell us how you met your lovely wife. And we can all basically see the joy in some of these things.
I hear you. I will not go down that rabbit hole that you have with it. You have a lot of, but we are friends, so we do mischief to each other, so it's fine. No cause for alarm, that's according to the EC. 3 arrested at voter registration center, and then Freddie Blay extols Otumfuo. We've already spoken about that. Very quickly with the New Finder newspaper. President declines request for full KPMG report on SML or GRA contract. Okay. Domahene eulogizes Bawumia's humility campaign without insults. GRA bags $508 million from pilot phase of EVAT and invoicing, and Supreme Court directs plaintiff in LGBTQ+ bill suit to file fresh motion. I just have a question for you, Kojo Poku. Do you have any valid reason why you think, for some reason, the media, ordinary Ghanaians, those concerned about deals in government and the optics of certain things, can't have the KPMG report on SML, which was procured through taxpayers' money? Can you give us any reason?
Let's deal with it. Ghana is a country of law, not a country of commentary. When you go to the presidency based on a law, so you apply to the presidency for the KPMG report on the Right to Information Bill, then the presidency takes the law, the bill on which you stood to come and request, and then now cite a part of that same law that says that there is a law that says that there's a portion that says the presidency, if there's a document that forms part of an opinion, deliberation, is exempt to the law with which you have brought. That's the position of a legal position from the presidency. It doesn't mean it ends there. There is that's why the commission was set up, to arbiter.
So now, I hear you about to talk about RTI. You can't release the report. We must go through RTI and face the same frustrations that everybody has faced.
It was RTI that...
Hold on, the request was based on RTI.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that, but I'm saying that you're going back to it almost as though, what again?
If you go down that route, please, let me learn. If you go down that route, then be prepared to do the full haul of the route. If I wrote a simple letter, Mr. President, based on your conscience, can you please give me a copy of the KPMG report? And he says no. That's a different matter. But you went on law. You stood on a law to apply for the report. And they have replied you based on the law.
Kojo, why should this even become a tussle? Why should it even become a tussle? Why will the presidency not put it out?
The president is president. The law gives him certain rights and certain things that he can do.
Is it because the presidency has something to hide?
Well, I don't know what the presidency have to hide. All I'm saying to you is that we are a country of law, not a country of commentary.
All right.
If you go to the presidency to ask for a document based on law,
right,
and the law tells the person that you are not allowed to do that, you have the full haul. There are other steps. You have to go to the commission, let the commission arbiter. If you are not happy, take it to the Supreme Court.
All right. Kojo, let me do this before you wrap. So you said the word reset, right? And I was telling you that there are more meanings to it. The Cambridge Dictionary says, reset, to turn a piece of...
I knew you were not going to let this go, man.
Relax. Semantics, I like the semantic game. To turn a piece of electronic equipment off and then on again when it does not work correctly, and make it start working correctly again. To change the position on the controls of a piece of equipment. To change the details of something. Of a machine or piece of equipment, to turn off and then on again and return to its original settings. And then maybe, finally, to change so as to be at a different level, amount, or time. Does all of this not make some sense to you?
Not at all. Well, you asked me, but Ben, you asked, you see, Ben, we are talking about, hold on, Ben. Let's
why can't I laugh again? Allow me to laugh now. You make your point.
Okay, hold on. Ben, listen. You are talking about somebody saying that he's going to reset a country. And you are talking about 10 on and 10 off.
I have given you the different meanings of reset.
We are turning on and off inflation. We are turning on and off fuel prices, LPG. We are turning on and off corruption, press freedom. There's so many things happening that.
So can I put a single question to you? All these things that you've mentioned that His Excellency John Dramani, when he wants to turn off, did they exist or did not exist in his time?
It depends on the level to which they existed.
Well, we see, now we go. Depends on what level. We see.
Which is why reset, one of the meanings says to change the level to a better one.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that
we can get into specifics. If we take the CD depreciation.
A simple question, yes and no will do. Did it exist or did not exist in his time?
We are asking you the questions, Kojo.
Well, we're having a conversation. So do you want us to reset this conversation?
Well, in fact, we have to go because that's all time will allow us.
Well, thank you very much. Since we are turning off to turn on another time, I will say gracias.
Kojo, as always, I know my level.
Please, let's do an encore. Let's do an encore of that song. I love it.
Oh, sir, you this one. We have to go. The sports people will beat us up. So.
Kojo Poku is energy analyst and chairman.
Do I have what? Permission for using Shatawale's song? Shatawale is cool. Shatawale is cool. He will not give me wahala. Kojo Poku is an energy analyst, and he joined the conversation this morning. Yeah, so are you going to reset anything this morning?
I'm going to reset my life and reassess if I want to live the next decade in this country, because
we go day inside together. Anyway, just to cap up before sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, as always, helping us bring you this segment. They're offering you prostate screening if you're a man, fertility screening if you're a woman, all for free. Their branches across Pintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takradi and IG State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. Their call lines 0244-867-068 or 0274-234-321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
The end to chronic disease.
The end to chronic disease.
I just have to chip this in. It came in yesterday from Erica from Sales.
Okay.
It's a happy birthday to her prophet. So today, happy belated birthday to Prophet Jude Ahia Batha-Mensah from Jam Ministry. Papa, may all your secret prayers be answered in Jesus' name. Greater Grace General from Erica Multimedia Sales Department. Happy birthday.
Yesterday, Real Madrid did their thing in the dying embers of the game, overcoming Bayern Munich. We'll be telling you about that and more in sports. Do stay.
I know my level.
Good morning. Let's do sports now on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, today marks exactly 23 years since the country experienced one of the worst disasters in football. It was a day Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko faced off to entertain the crowd. But after 90 minutes, pain and agony were felt, with over 100 fans dead and several others injured. My colleague Victor Achutamaklo looks back at the event and assesses whether the recommendations to avoid another disaster have been effective or not.
Aja Tete, Osaiku 4. Try to look for Ismail. This should be the winner. This should be the winner. Ismail Ado. And Kumasi Asante Kotoko in all sorts of trouble.
Never again. That's the inscription you see on the statue erected at the entrance of the Accra Sports Stadium in memory of the 126 people who perished 23 years ago. The Sam Okujeto Commission of Inquiry set out to lay the groundwork for that. And they did, with a number of what was initially thought to be seminal recommendations.
So the commission recommended, among other things, the prosecution of 6 police officers. But after trial, all the charges brought against them, including the charge of involuntary manslaughter, were dismissed after the prosecutor failed to establish beyond reasonable doubt that the conduct of these police officers was responsible for the death of the 127 people. There was also the establishment of the Stadium Disaster Fund, which the Commission recommended government putting 2 billion cedis at a time, which is now, in today's terms, 200,000 Ghana cedis in the first year of that particular fund. And that fund was to go into, among other things, taking care of the children of all of the victims of that particular May 9 disaster. And for those that didn't have children, there were 54 of them specifically. The Commission recommended the payment of a one-time ex gratia of 10 million, which in today's terms would be 1,000 Ghana cedis. And that money was to go to the parents or a legal representative.
One of the unintended legacies of the Commission's work is the fixture itself. I'm not sure who set out to enforce it, but over time, the idea of hosting a Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko match at night has become somewhat of a taboo. In 23 years, the only time the two teams have met in a late kickoff match was in 2022 when Hearts of Oak beat Asante Kotoko by 2-1 at the Accra Sports Stadium on 4th March. it was a President's Cup match on a Friday night.
Ball header down, opportunity, and that's it. Efia Bania gets the goal there for Accra Hartlepool. It has been happening, and finally this.
I mean, between 2001 and 2024, a lot has changed with football all over the world. If you want your brand to compete, you have to look at the uniqueness of your brand. If your brand is in a position where in 2024 you are competing with so many eyeballs, and let's say if a game between Kotoko and Hearts can be played at, let's say, after 6 p.m. to get returns on that, why would you still want to be playing it, if you like, in the hot sun at 3 p.m., for example, on a Sunday afternoon with all the competing interests that come with a game these days?
That was Kwame Jumo-Ajimai, Communications Director at Premier League club Legon Cities. His views are shared by Dr. Godfred Akoto-Boafo, a football administrator who once consulted for Liberty Professionals while they were still in the league.
For the period that we were in, the committee's recommendations were not perfect, but some of them were legitimate, particularly with restoring fan safety at Kotoko and Hearts games. The impact has not been felt as much because we have not implemented that aspect in full, even immediately after that. The one that we held true to was the firm rule about not playing a Kotoko Hearts game at night, which, of course, in the era that we find ourselves, makes very little sense. Apart from that, we could have done better with the sporting side of the recommendations that were made.
23 years on, the recommendations and the disaster itself are still fresh in our memory. But just how much has changed? Experienced journalist Jerome Ochre has his take.
I don't think a lot has changed. If anything at all has changed, it's mostly about what we do after the incidents have occurred, and not necessarily what we are doing to prevent or preempt those incidents from occurring. Most of the time, it's about hoping and praying. And we hope and pray that nothing happens. But if something happens, for me, reactions have always been what I would say is lip service.
There was one that impacted even generally how our stadiums would have been built going forward in terms of the number of exits that were supposed to be present at the stadium. Because I remember was that there was a game, I went to a game at then Robert Mensah Sports Stadium. It was a massive game. And if you will come from that part of the country, that stadium has only one gate.
Yeah.
At the time, and everybody was squeezing through that tiny gate. And this was 4 or 5 years after the recommendations on the kind of things that were supposed to be present at Category A games, basically, so to say, for fan safety, and also the training of policemen, the interaction between security services and fans. I think that those things have not really gone well.
Let's talk about the specifics then. Safety and security protocols, stadium architecture, the very things we swore to fix. How have we gone about fixing them?
Over the years, what we failed to do was we're just lifting solutions from elsewhere and seeing if we can also implement that. But in security, you have to always profile your. If you take 100% of hooligan acts or incidents or disturbances that we have had for the past 5 years, about 80 to 90% will be attack on match officials.
That was Julius Emuna, Safety and Security Officer at the Ghana Football Association, and once upon a time, the club licensing manager. So what has to give?
One very important thing that we have still not been able to achieve or still not been able to do as stakeholders, listed stakeholders, not just the GFA. Thankfully, the current Safety and Security Committee led by the chairman is trying to get that in place. It's arrests. And let's not forget that. It's arrests. People who are in football, spectators who are in football, have this notion that misconduct, hooligan acts, criminal acts at match venues cannot be settled at the law court. That has to be drummed down to the people. 2 actions. There should be examples set. The police should be able to make arrests of people who attack physically officials, opposition players, and even spectators at match venues. When these arrests are done and people get to know that doing said acts can lead you before court.
I keep saying that if I walk on the street of Accra and I hold a club in my hand or any object and go around striking people I disagree with, the police won't let me go beyond a kilometer. I will be arrested. But I can put up this same behavior at the stadium per what I have seen. And there's a high chance that I will still sleep comfortably at home the next night. And I think that is what is lacking in terms of dealing with the security situation at our venues. If we will have the police getting hold of the hooligans and using one or two of them to set an example by taking them to the law courts, prosecuting them, and making sure they get a conviction against them, and the whole public knowing that violence at the football venues is not anything to be countenanced, I think the degree to which we see these incidents would be reduced to the barest minimum.
Until then, we can only hope that the Ghana Football Association, its members, the sports ministry, the security agencies, football fans, and all stakeholders continue to do their bit in order to force the cultural reset we wish to see. For Joy Sports, Victor Achutamaklu.
And may it never happen again. To the Ghana Premier League, Hearts of Oak, they return to winning ways in style. The Phobians defeated Brecum Chelsea 3-0, ending their streak of back-to-back losses. The win comes as a big relief for the club as they are now 6 points clear of the relegation zone. Highlights for you.
Linda is trying to squeeze one for Issa Kuka. Shaibu makes a mistake. Here is Hamza with a weldy. Glorious finish from Hamza. Issa, his 12th of the season. And this is spectacular. Wonderful goal. The Phobians in the lead at the Golden City Park in Brecum. It's Chelsea 0, Hearts 1. Shaibu makes the mistake. Kuka is trying to find Linda, but Hamza is shooting with a left foot even before Linda makes the attempt. That can be pardoned. He slipped and fell, and Hamza took advantage after Issa Kuka's presence of mind. So spot on to find a teammate. Hamza is just swinging. Amponsa gets back to Kosa. The Phobians on the move now. Linda stays onside. It's a big chance for the Phobians to make it 2-0. And Linda makes it 2-0 for Akagbor at the Golden City Park in Brecum. Whenever their backs are against the wall, when you don't expect them to rise to the occasion, that is where the silence you. Akagbor on the move to the second goal. Brilliant passing play. Linda all alone. He sees the goalkeeper making a move. He looks at the far corner and he makes it 2-0 for the Phobians. Linda, calmness, composure. He's lost possession to Amponsa, and Hamza stays onside. He's got Cisse. There's a chance. Can they get a 10? Here is Cisse. And it's 3-0 for Akagbor. The job is done and complete. Cisse gets up the score sheet. And the Phobians, 3 goals up at the Golden City Park. Unbelievable. Brecum Chelsea are being cut to size. The Phobians are on a demolition exercise. 3-0. It was a good ball from Hamza. He took it really well. Not the kind of result somebody was expecting. Cisse comes off the bench and he scores in what seemed to be a master stroke from Abubakar Ouattara.
Well, that's how we end the sports here on the AM show. My name is Harun Mubarak. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, before we get into our big stories, before we get into AM exclusive for today, the fourth industrial revolution is here. But what does this mean for Ghana and Africa? We invite you to join global and local leaders to address the impact of technology at the first ever Industry Engagement Forum, that is 2024, by Industry Immersion Africa in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation Ghana and the Ministry of Education through the National Service Scheme. Be a part of this groundbreaking immersive experience. The two-day event will serve as a pivotal platform fostering dialogue and collaboration in a bid to bridge the industry-academia gap, empower STEM graduates across Africa, and combat youth unemployment. Now the theme, industry driving AI and 4IR, that is the fourth industrial revolution in Africa, collaborative pathways for digital transformation in Ghana. The date is Wednesday, the 22nd of May and Thursday, the 23rd of May, 2024. Time, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. each day. The venue is the UPSA Auditorium here in Accra. And to register or seek more information, you can just visit www.iiafrica.org. That is iiafrica.org for more information. The media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News, and myjoyonline.com. Now, today on AM Exclusive, we engage Dr. Kojo Esim Mensa Abrampa. It's quite a mouthful. He's Director General, National Development Planning Commission. We're going to be engaging him on Ghana's developmental agenda and how far we have come with our development planning. Doc, good morning.
Good morning.
And I must say our condolences to you as well. I saw Doc in black, and you know, in Ghana, though I can don black for just whatever reason, but I asked him and he shared with me that, you know, you've lost your mother.
Dear mother.
Our condolences.
Thank you.
Life, anyway. And, we hope that God will strengthen you.
Definitely.
And the family.
Definitely.
Okay, so here we are. It's another opportunity to share. I think this is what, my fourth or fifth engagement with
fifth,
you.
I think so.
Right. Before we get into the developmental issues, though, I just want to find out, contemplating Ghana today, people are talking about Doomsaw, people are talking about the KPMG report, people are talking about cocoa, people are talking about so many things. But for you, if you had to talk about one topical matter, what would it be?
I think we need to look at the cocoa very well. Very, very well, yes.
Smuggling.
Smuggling, yeah. This is something which comes on and off, depending on the regime and depending on the pricing. And then also depending on what we are doing at our borders. And I think the combination of that is very, very necessary, given the fact that we're going through a situation where chocolate is at the highest, price ever. I just came from outside and I saw what I bought over there compared to last year, and I realized that it's already, if not 200% difference in terms of price. So it tells us that it's coming up. But, to break the gap, cocoa, it takes about... But
cocoa prices have started to fall.
Yes, it started to fall because
it's a free fall.
Exactly. But the issue had to do with the bridging the gap in terms of what we can do. In terms of how we can manage that, we need to look at the smuggling. It's very, very important. I spent a lot of my life in some of the border areas in Western region, and I know that it's a problem there. But now that we've come strongly into what I call the Cocoa Union with Côte d'Ivoire, it helps. Because as much as possible, they will also like to facilitate and together control the world market. So we need to work together. This has started, and strongly this needs to be progressed. I also think that as we've started revamping our cocoa farms, we need to do that. Because planting, it will take 3 to 4 years to make a difference.
Right.
So within the next 3 or 4 years, we have something to manage and something to work on. And I know very well a lot of efforts being done by Cocoa Board. But unfortunately, a disease which we were struggling with in the 60s is back. And that is something that we need to fight on and work on. Ideally, people are also attributing that to the whole issue of climate change. So it's not just cocoa tree, it's not just the soil, but it's our own environment which is also contributing to that. Having longer rainy seasons and very intense dry season, and it's affecting the whole ecology of the growth of the cocoa.
Well, We pray for better times. But let's get into the main bit about Ghana's developmental agenda.
Yeah.
Especially now as we're in the political season, you hear this person say this, that person say that. And sometimes you ask yourself, how does that even feed into the NDPC and its work?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, your outfit has also been politicized over time.
Yeah.
A bit. Because you go back to Professor Kwesi Botwe, blessed memory. You come to Professor Stephen Ade. You come to so many others. And I've had interactions with these people, and they'll tell you, yes, we do our work as well as we can, but there's also the political element. Sometimes you even want to do something, and this administration says, oh no, let's do it that way because we made this promise. Yeah. But where do we stand on the developmental front as far as the NDPC is concerned?
Yes, if you look at the setting up of NDPC, and as a planner, what I say is that the National Development Planning Commission manages the vision of the country, which is very different from managing projects and programs, which can be ascribed to a government. But the vision of the country is our function. How we manage this vision is very, very important. For many years, we've concentrated on plan preparation. Preparing a plan is only one activity of the whole planning process, and what generally we call the public financial management system. You see, but implementing the plan is crucial. And this is something we have either looked at it or we've only touched it even way back since 1957. And if you look at why all these plans failed, it's basically because of the management. And so for myself,
maybe mismanagement.
Exactly. For myself and my commission, it's one of the things we looked at. I mean, and I realized that it wasn't even our commission. It was started even by the Kwesi Botwe Commission. How we can work to link up, and this is crucial, the plan to the budget. This is what for a very long time we have failed. So we come up with beautiful plans that have very little influence on our own resource management or the budget. So we've worked on this assiduously, and we realize that now there's a very strong linkage we've managed to establish between our plans and our budget. Hitherto, you have a plan, which is the vision of the country, which can be a plan, well done, neatly done, and it has no influence because the influence over the budget very often is that power is basically given to the government to express. Right. It's given to government because we have not been able to establish a system which automatically links this up.
But are you saying after all this time, we still don't have such a system that can function like a well-oiled cog in a wheel so that we get there? What is happening?
Surprisingly, the answer is no.
We're still not there.
It's just the last 2-3 years that we've been, although we've started working on it as NDPC for a very long time, the last 3 years is taking shape in the sense that now the PFM, the public financial management process, has now been linked up. What I would say that from plan to the budget to procurement to spending, that's the Accountant General Department, to Parliament for approval, and then to implementation institutions at the ministries, and then back to monitoring and evaluation. This has been done, but even now it is done manually. In many cases, in this era of technology, I saw you advertising and talking about technology minutes ago. In many countries, this is automated, and this is what we've been able to work on. In fact, by the end of the year, this process will be automated, implying that once you have the plan approved by Parliament, if you have a budget being approved, if the budget doesn't link up to the plan, you cannot press a dot to approve. Any budget activity must have a reversal relationship with the plan that you have also identified, an activity in the plan. And then it can go on to spending. If you're a spending officer and you change any activity for which you are approving, it will not be approved. You will not have money to spend because the budget will not have it and the plan will not have it. And this is automated. Fortunately, we managed to have a very good activity around that, let me say that, supported by the Ghana government and with support from the World Bank, for which all those actors involved in managing this process of linking the plan to the budget have now been established in the program. So you have over there GRA, which brings the money. You have over there the Accountant General Department, the Audit Service, the Parliament itself, Public Service Commission, NDPC, Ministry of Finance, all of us sitting at the table and then linking up this process. And that is what we've been working on, in fact, since the last 2 years, but manifesting in this year, we have ourselves targets. I have one in June. By that time, I should have a report ready for Parliament on the state of our development.
What is the state of our development today?
The state of our development, let me say that we have defined targets which we're working towards.
Right.
And these targets are numerous.
Right.
But there are, within each year, we have certain areas that we focus on. We've had big problems in the past, which had to do with the growth rate that we set for ourselves in the last 3 years. In terms of our medium term, we've not been able to hit that because we are expecting a minimum average of 5%. We've not been able to hit that. So
and I see you with the logo of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Even there, we're also struggling.
Well, let me say that largely with the SDG, it's not only us. It's something which is global. Almost all of us, in the last meeting in New York, we all accepted that if you go by the pace, we will not be able to attain.
But we are talking about Ghana and some of what we
so
target,
Ghana,
even in terms of access to water and economic.
Let me put it this way: we've identified 6 areas, basically 5, for which we have to work on and attain. Water is one of them. We are almost there. Where we are suffering has to do with our water quality, which is another thing to look at. But in terms of access to water, we have gone way above 85% of Ghanaians who have access to water. Quality is being challenged. We accept that. We also have a lot of improvement in terms of access to sanitation with respect to that. We've had a good result in terms of nutrition. Yes, nutrition and access to poverty is reducing, though not as fast as we want. There are other areas which we have done very well, areas with innovation, and we all accept the fact that we've improved heavily on communication and others. So these are some of them. There are others where we have huge challenges. If it comes to the issue which has to do with energy access, for instance, 7. In terms of developing alternative energy, we're still around 1%, which is not as accepted, given the fact that we would like to hit by 2030, 20% of our energy source should come from alternative energy sources. It means that we have a lot to do in the next 7 years.
If you look at the gap, it tells you, and these are some of the targets that sometimes I ask myself, okay, we came up with this, it's ambitious and all of that, but how are we getting there? I've seen the plans of other countries, South Korea, even China, and sometimes you ask yourself, how do we plan here? Because you look at the plan versus the execution and you tell yourself that even within an 8-year term of a specific administration, what they have done is nowhere near what they should have done, so that any other government that comes, or even if they were continuing, let's say you say that in 10 years, maybe you should achieve 100% of something, right? And by God's grace, you get an 8-year term, which means in the next 2 years, you should have hit 100. But after 8 years, you are at 15. You see, that means it means that by 8 years, you should be at 80, but you are at 15. And that has been the story all through.
You see, and that's what I said. The fundamental thing is that our plans are not linked to our resources. That is the problem, fundamental. There is no way you can implement a plan.
You have planners.
You have planners.
The NDPC has technical people. Exactly. Government has technical people.
Yes.
Explain to me how it is not possible to ensure that our plans are commensurable with
in the past. Let me say that. Because once you do the plan, you prioritize each year. You have a medium-term framework, which is the fiscal framework, which is prepared by Minister of Finance.
Right.
And then you have an annual priority, which is established in the plan. And this is what goes to implementation. There must be resources, a budget, which responds to these prioritized areas. Then you are implementing a plan. But if you have resources, which is responding to areas which are not in the priority, which has been the case in the past several times, all these past, then you have a plan which is excellent, but the budget is not responding to the plan. And this is where we have struggled.
Whom are we to blame? The politicians? Because
it's not politicians.
What you're telling me is you put forward a plan.
Yeah.
We need 100 million to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
The budget comes and only 20 million is available to you. Yeah. And maybe there was even external funding or something, though usually they are strict.
Yeah,
but you find out that people end up, it's like with the GET fund.
Yeah.
Capping the GET fund and all of that. So all of us make purchases. We are taxed. GET fund levy. But it doesn't go where it should go. Government is dipping its hands into it and taking. Is that not the problem?
The problem is not with government, because then you go back and blame all the way to 1957. It's the system we have created as a nation.
Which is
what? A system where you have what we call 12 key actors within the public service, public financial management system. And these actors must relate. Those working in plan must relate to those working on the budget. Those working on the budget must relate to those spending. And that is, those working on the budget must relate to those mobilizing the revenue, GRA. Those mobilizing the revenue must relate to the accountant general, who looks at what is there and what can be spent. Right. And then on to procurement. What they are approving in terms of capital, is it in the plan? Is it related to resources that is available? And then you go to implementation. The civil servant, what are they doing in terms of deciding at the various ministries? It's what they are doing in consonance with the very plans they have presented. And have they prioritized to receive these resources? Are these resources available? And then you go to Parliament that approves the plan and the budget. If Parliament is approving the budget, is that budget responding to a plan which has been presented? So this is the system. And then you go to those who look at the auditing. The auditor finds out. It's what you presented in the budget. Is that in the plan? Is that what you have budgeted for? And is that what you've spent on? So this is a system which has to work.
And the system, and what you're saying is the system is not working.
The system has never worked.
The system has never worked.
Has never worked. This thorough system of getting this thing done has not worked.
Is it too long? Is it too bureaucratic? Is there too much red tape? Is that what you're saying?
And that is what we have been able to work on. And as I said, the last 2 years, we've devoted our time, Ministry of NDPC, Ministry of Finance, and all these institutions. And we have worked on it seriously, such that we are just at the last bit, which we have to do by June, by September for the next budget cycle, because this will be automated. Automated means that you have already in the budget system where you have the paying system is already linked to the budget. So you can only pay when it's linked to the budget. But the budget is not linked to the very plan which has been approved by the Parliament. And the plan takes into consideration all these prioritized things which will give us good results at the end of the day. So this is what we are doing. Once this is linked, once payment is done, the payment is being done in response to what we decided as a country, approved by our Parliament, to do within the year, within the plan.
In response to something specific.
Specific.
Okay. So tell me, does that mean that as of now...
Let me give one example, which means that if this money is supposed to go to support education, you cannot take it to...
Divert it.
Exactly.
All right. So this means, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you are handicapped.
Well, let me say that once the system is done, and the system...
I'm talking of currently, you're still handicapped.
No, currently it's difficult. It's been difficult in the past, more difficult, but now it's easing. Because now I'm very comfortable from last year what happened, and this year what is happening. And I'm very comfortable. Very, very comfortable.
Just tell me, I will go to your, and this is a document you remember. I've had it for about a year or two.
Exactly.
From our initial conversation. Yeah. I like this one because it's the PDF and it's easier to go through. Ghana at 100.
Exactly.
Right? That will be 2057.
Exactly.
But before we get there, currently, what are the plans, medium term, long term, that we have? National development plans. Yeah. What are some of the plans that we have, before I even get into that?
It's a whole process, and it's very important to be able to get that. We have a long-term plan. We have the coordinated program, which is by constitution. Then we have the medium-term framework. You have the medium-term plan, and these are the plans, the 4 things which ought to go. And then you go to the ministries and the districts. So this is the logic. And then you have corresponding budgets at the national and the district level. This is what we have. And all these documents are public on our website, and then also in public for everybody to read. And that is it.
What are the, yes, you said long-term and all of that. What are the timelines?
Let me give, the long-term plan looks at the perspective all the way to 2057. At the time will be 100 years.
Right.
What do we want to create for ourselves as a country? Then you have the coordinated program, which is a requirement of Parliament, which is an 8-year program. 8-year program. Then you go to the 4-year, it's mandatory. Okay, the 8-year program, 4-year program, and then you go to annual priorities, which is done annually, which goes into the budget. This is the system. If this is followed, definitely the logic of planning, as I indicated, will be implemented, and we should be able to hit a lot of the targets, notwithstanding some of these shocks will come on our way. That's it.
When you look at the article establishing, and talking about the commission, Article 87(1) and 2B of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, it says, the commission shall advise the president on development planning policy and strategy, and shall, at the request of the president, make proposals for the development of multi-year rolling plans, taking into consideration the resource potential. You mentioned resources. Resource potential and comparative advantage of the different districts of Ghana. So if you go to Shama district, they have their own comparative advantage. You want to tap into that. I know they have forestry, some timber. They also have wildlife. So you want to know how to position them and bring the best out of them. But what is the justification for this or such long-term planning? You know why I asked that? Some have looked at long-term plans. You remember Osafo Mafo and the infamous statement about a 20-year or 40-year development plan. Other countries have had, they even have 50-year plus development plans. What is the justification?
You see, our data management as a country has improved drastically in the last 5 years, to be frank. All of us have been students, we've collected data, but it's drastically. 5 years ago, where data paucity, what I call poverty was such a thrive thing being used as an excuse. Currently, that's not the case. So what we have done is that the long term is basically establishing a vision. Two things. Every country that has been able to break through in the last 20 years, from lower income to high income, there's something about that. What is about that? Branding, taking advantage of what they call the comparative advantage of the country, the branding, the comparative advantage, and being known for something. This becomes a means by which we can project and pull along all the other sectors. Key. So the long-term vision is able to prioritize and identify what we call the key trigger to be able to push along. In Ghana, given our comparative advantage, and the trigger, it is so obvious for us because this is a country where we've been struggling in terms of industrialization and specifically on manufacturing and processing. But we are endowed with a lot of resources. We are number 7 in the world in terms of gold production, first in Africa. We are number 2 in terms of bauxite in Africa. We are ranked among the first 10.
That is also, the gold bit is also part of it because South Africa's gold, production dwindled drastically. They are producing less than 50% of what. But the point is that. So let me finish. What do these resources mean without?
Exactly. So what we need to do, and that's how the long-term vision is, how do we process these resources? Because once you export in the raw form, you're basically getting about 20% of what you're supposed to get. How do we process that? So this is what the plan looks at. How do we be able to go through a process of refining our gold, bringing it to the finality and being able to say, instead of sending it to, Emirates and China and India and other places where the bulk of it will go and then Europe.
My problem with that point, and I'll let you elaborate, but I always want us to do critical analysis. For as long as I remember, we've been talking about refining our own gold. In this administration, we've spoken about a time without number. I think we started something.
Exactly.
What happened to that? I mean, sometimes Our leaders make us feel, I call them misleaders. They make us feel we simply couldn't do anything right. You have your cocoa here. How much of it?
It's processed.
What is the chocolate capital of the world? Belgium. Brussels. Do they produce cocoa?
No.
No. You are the second largest in the world. You sit and wait. Gold, ornaments. If you add value to it, you can sell for 4 to 10 times as much. But no, you will go and refine somewhere. It will come back to you as a finished product. You buy it at... What is wrong with us?
You see, let me come up with this, and this is very critical. If you go to our plans, all these things that we're talking about is well established, including processes, including strategies. We have a whole Ghana National Industrialization Plan, which is a detailed one. We have another one, infrastructure, another one, human capital. But the point here is that, you see, the way we have organized ourselves is such that we always give credence to immediate things. But real development means that you need to give credence to where you want to go as much as what you are doing today. Very, very important. And that's what I've said. In many of these cases, we budget. And that's how we spend our money. And the budget within a short-term perspective. But if you budget within the long-term perspective, then you go back to your plan. What did we say we want to do? We wanted to build a refinery. How do we do it? What is the process? Do we need to register somewhere? If we do it, how do we bring up? So these are some of the questions which are answered in the plan, but it's never answered in the budget. So if you manage a country on the basis of your money that you want, expenditure, revenue, definitely. Some of these medium-term range of decisions will be lacking. And it's the same thing with our cocoa. You know, people are investing in cocoa processing while they don't have cocoa. And their aim is to depend on Ghana's cocoa. So you're basically competing with them. How do you draw in and start also processing your cocoa here? You're competing with the person who is buying. So how do we bring it here? And it all depends on our conditions and terms and some of these, what I call the trade pacts and all that.
Right.
So you can't sign a trade pact in vain. You sign it thinking about how you're also going to process it.
But right before we get into some of what we have ahead of 2057, where we are though, have you not lost the battle? Because here's what I mean. You've been at post for how many years now?
Pardon me?
How many years have you been at post now
4.
at the NDPC?
4 years.
4 years.
Yes.
We're in an electoral cycle.
Yes.
And unfortunately,
we
know how it goes when it comes to power changes.
Yes.
Even this administration, if it changed leadership and the MPP were retained, maybe you wouldn't be retained. It's a possibility.
Well, I'm a public servant.
I mean,
I'm a public servant.
These appointments happen. You could be sent elsewhere.
No, I'm a public servant. There had been a time where we had an NDPC director general for 10 years.
That is true.
One person.
That is true.
Yes.
But there's also the likelihood that you could be reassigned, right?
Well, definitely, I'm a public servant.
Good.
So
my point is, that is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that continuity serves a purpose. I've spoken to other people, Professor Ade and others, who felt if this had been done, and sometimes right when you are on the cusp of achieving something, and someone else comes through. So my question then is, should that happen, what happens to all these plans and
it's
execution?
It's good, but if you leadership, if you personalize it, then you have a challenge. But if you have a whole team going with you, it's a system that you are creating, it's a process. You might be off, but somebody comes and it continues.
My problem is the person leaves and it doesn't continue. That's the problem.
Well, largely, I would say that largely at NDPC, there'll be more continuity than breaks as an institution, yes.
All right. Let me get into Ghana at 100. I always find it interesting when I go here and I've read this document a number of times.
Several times.
But today I'm going to do something. I'm going to go through all the projections, that is 18 of them.
Yeah.
Right? For us to take a look at them
Yeah.
and see realistically
Yeah.
where we are and where we could possibly be
Yeah.
come 2050.
Yeah, 7.
That's another, 26 years away?
Exactly.
26 years.
Yes.
Okay. So it says, by 2057, it is envisioned that Ghana will be a high-income country with the following minimum basic characteristics. 1, self-confident citizens with high standards of patriotism anchored on discipline, good work ethic, who put the welfare of country above self-interest. Today, if I look at our misleaders and I look at us, I don't think we are close to that. Then 2, a nominal GDP of approximately, I'll do the first 3 and let you come in.
Yeah.
A nominal GDP of approximately $3.4 trillion and per capita GDP of not less than $50,000 equivalent. So on the individual level, earnings and all that. Let me also just let you know, nominal GDP is not adjusted for things like inflation or deflation, price changes. So that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And 3, a resilient, service-oriented, industrialized, and globally competitive economy. Again, I look at this third one, resilient. Resilience where? Industry is not in our hands.
Yes.
The levers of industry are not in our hands. Not in tech, not in telcos, not in even agri, on so many facets. Service-oriented, just try service from many institutions in this country. You'll get the answer to your question. Industrialized and globally competitive economy. Right now, we are not. These 3 points, what would be your reactions and where we are, how we get there in 2057?
Let me say that a lot of these were based upon assumptions, which were made
That's how you plan.
between 2015 and 2018. And therefore, you monitor and change along. You realize that we've started reviewing the long-term plan. Yes, and some of the indicators. So we made an assumption at the time of the growth that if we're able to grow at an average of 7% in 5 years, and then move to 6% in the next continuous years, and then glide at 5% before we hit 2057, we should be able to attain that. We realize that from 2020, this has been, shut down. Basically, it did not work.
So do you have revised figures? For example, for the nominal GDP of 3.4 trillion, do you have revised figures?
Yes, we have revised figures.
What's the revised figure?
Let me put it here. In terms of the per capita, it's better to pick that.
Yeah, so but I want the nominal as well when you're...
No, we have to do the recalculation. I don't have it here ready, but I have all the per capita, because if you grow at 4% by 2027 on an average, and then also 2037, 6%, and up to 2047, 7%, and then 7% by 2057, we should be able to hit a per capita growth rate of 8,500. 8,500, yes. We've taken into consideration all the anomalies in the past and then recalculated that. We currently...
But wait, that's a far cry from the 50,000.
Exactly.
So we've revised from $50,000
exactly to
8,000.
Yes, that is it.
500.
I must say, at the 50,000 was very, very much overambitious, because we realized that many of these countries, once they hit 10,000 per capita, it's enough to project you into a developed country. And then you begin to have also a growth rate basically around 4%. It's only Japan and South Korea that have been able to pursue and move on even after that. So this is an international thing which we know. So, but 8.5% would definitely put us, 8,500 will put us in a very comfortable, standard of living.
By 2057.
Yes, by 2057, if you are there. And definitely given where we are in terms of the adjusted growth rates, which are reasonable, because the highest expected is about 7%.
Let me ask you though, is these $8,500, are they adjusted for inflation, deflation? I mean, you couldn't possibly project, but did you have any permutations to likely project what?
Exactly, it's a model. So we also have adjusted inflations done. Okay. We've adjusted that. So we also have, for instance, a projected inflation rate. By that time, inflation rate the highest we expect by 2057 will be 9%, single. But it's also we have graduated it over a 4-year pattern for us to be able to measure after every 4 years. You have all this. So that is critical. We have these results. We have these a lot of these plans, but to bring it to the public and to us to relate, we are breaking them down into 4-year graduations of all these parameters so that we can assess our government over the period. Like what you have, we're putting it in table.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. If you divide 8,500 by 12, let's do a division.
Exactly.
You get 708.33.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at 708.33, now if you look at where we are currently, someone would also argue that if in 2057, looking at other countries also advancing in per capita GDP and all of that, that could actually mean poverty.
Not at all.
In 26
not at all. Not at all.
If you want to consider what, yes, you could look at PPP, purchasing power parity.
Exactly.
But if you look at inflationary trends now and the cost of living, juxtaposed with what, that's why some people would want to, because they feel even if I go here and I earn $200 extra, I don't know.
We have a scenario, and that is how you look at it, where you look at the per capita income and what it could give you in terms of parity. So you have a number of countries that you compare and the trend of it. If you look at the changes in terms of the dollar element, in terms of inflation, it hasn't gone up so much. Right. It comes back. It goes up and it comes back. Now I'm almost at the highest point. But we look at the scenario, we know that it will definitely come back.
So that's why you're pegging to the dollar.
Exactly. That's why we peg it to the dollar, in fact.
Now let's look at another set of, and I may not go through all 18 of them, but I'll try.
It's interesting.
Number 4, a business and financial hub in the West African sub-region. Number 5, modernized agriculture for sufficient food to ensure food security and raw materials for agro-based industries and exports. 6, minimal income disparities between the very rich and the very poor. I feel these two areas are places we failed. Modernized agriculture for sufficient food to ensure food security and raw materials for agro-based industries and exports. Farmers are lamenting badly. Cost of doing business, cost of diesel, equipment, no support, fertilizers, it's just the minimal income disparities. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer.
Let me take the first one. In terms of agriculture and in terms of food security, we are number 1 in West Africa.
You know, we like to,
and so
yes, I get these factors, but
we have never been number
1. We like to play this game of we are number 1 among compared to what?
No, we have never been at the top, which means there's a progression. And if you look at the figures, in terms of food security, all of them shows improvement. All of them for the last consistently 8 years, they've been improvement. We experienced a dent in 2020, 2021, but it's come back. And the food security situation, nutrition situation is what we have chalked very high marks in terms of all the SDGs and our national indicators. So which is good. The next thing
you also realize it's also partly on the back of the low performances of those others in the sub-region.
Yes, but we also compare even to the highest, and we have moved up in terms of food security and nutrition. We are one of the best in Africa. As for that one, is in Africa, not only when it comes to nutrition, because we have pushed to the level that even countries like South Africa, Morocco, and Kenya we can still compare to that. And if you move out, the key thing is the challenge is the processing, which I agree. The agro-processing is our biggest bane now. Biggest in the sense that for a very long time, we have looked at supply, supporting agriculture through the supply vein, provide fertilizer, provide seedlings, provide cutlasses. But we have never looked at it from the demand side. So if you look at the current trend of the plan, we are looking at it in terms of demand. Demand in terms of which market is there, how do we store it, and where are we selling it. Once you do that, you always create a source for the farmer. The farmer determines what to grow and determines how much fertilizer I need and determines what kind of seedlings that I need, because farmers then makes the decision.
And I'll just use this example. The other day I was in Esichware with, and I can mention their name, Golden Exotics Limited.
Yes.
One of the largest, producers of bananas and also pineapples, right? It's huge. I mean, their plantation is like traveling from the Independence Square
to
the University of Ghana.
Yes.
Okay? That is where we have to go. We have systems in place, and all of this is going out for export. You know something they told me? They told me that they had a market, just on the back of what you're saying. ready from now till 2 years from now. Nyomu produce,
it's already gone.
All they have to do is produce and ship.
Exactly. So,
but this is a foreign entity, French, British. Why can't we apply that in our agriculture?
That is exactly what we're doing now. The demand-driven process. Because we have been producing in many areas where there's no market, but there's a market, gaping ones waiting for us. And that is where we're working towards. And that is what this plan is pushing for, the demand focus. And we already have it there. Right way back in 2018, it was written. In fact, 2018 it was launched, but the writing was from 2015 to 2018. So it means that we identified that issue of demand-driven. Create demand, create storage for farmers. Other than that, farmers
We don't even have a proper silo system. And Nkrumah with his foresight started it. Where is our silo system? So lots of farmers will have their perishables going bad within a short period. They will be forced to sell them dirt cheap. And then they look at, is there incentive for me to continue? No,
you see,
they stop.
We've been able to break through with those ones which can easily store. The challenge now in the country is the most difficult ones. The tomatoes, the yam, the plantain, and the others. How do we also get them processed and stored? So these are some of the things we need to look at. Because the farmer responds to the market. If the farmer grows this year and there's a glut, definitely next year they will not touch the cutlass. They'll produce for themselves and their family. This is how they respond to it. How do we bring it to that level and break through? It is providing the storage, the marketing, and the others. We have had it for maize now. We've been able to break through for soya bean. We're doing very well with rice. But the challenge has to do with still the roots and the
tubers and some of those. And you see, because you mentioned yam, something comes to mind. I asked this question. I can almost bet that maybe we are not there. You know, about 2-3 years ago, Ghana was, I didn't even know until I read some reports. Ghana was the world's largest exporter of yam. Are we still number one?
We're still there.
Are we still number one?
We are still there.
Number one?
We are still number one. Nobody has beaten us because the gap between us and Nigeria was just big. And
you know, I was asking myself, what are we going to do with that core positioning? You get to be number one exporter of yam, and there are so many things you can do. I wonder what we are doing, though.
You see, and just as I said, these things are linked, and we need to look at it. We are exporting. But do you know the biggest influencer in terms of food inflation, one of the biggest influences is yam, which means that if yam prices go up locally, it pushes our inflation up. And this is by research. And the Ghana Statistical Service has published it. And therefore, yam is a product that yam and fish we really need to manage in order to control our inflation because they push so many factors. So we take all these things in consideration. How much of it that we export and how much of it that we retain in the local market. Very, very important.
So there's information to corroborate what you're saying. Ghana has made significant gains in the area of yam export in recent years, overtaking Jamaica to become the world's biggest exporter of yam. The country's export value of yam has been on the rise since 2018 from $38.5 million to $48.2 million in 2021. And this is a report from, I think, 2022, 2023. I wish I could get very, very, very current.
No, the current thing stays the same. The most important, because we have now worked on the Eastern Corridor and also the roads in the OT region, it's facilitating the production. Because now it's easier for them to cut to the market, and it's facilitating that.
I'm going to cut to the chase and, pinpoint specific areas and take your thoughts on them so we can. We have a few minutes to go. Minimal income disparities. You've still not spoken about it.
Yes, that one is a big challenge, I must say, because the inequality in terms of income is a problem. So you realize that poverty is reducing, but the gap between the rich and the poor is becoming wider. And this is where there are definite activities to bridge that. One of them has to do with the access to education and all that. And then the other one also has to do with the gap between private sector payments and the public sector. This is very big. So these are specific things we are working on. Another one which also brings up the disparity also has to do with location. You have people who have access to everything to be able to engage in production and move on. And we have areas where there's virtually nothing. Yeah. So we strengthen the district assemblies to be able to develop and provide some of these services, support. One specific activity undertaken by the county is the encouragement of local economic development. And these are specific things to bridge the gap. Very, very important.
I'll put 3 issues quickly together.
Yes.
Point 7 talks about robust pension schemes. Now, we've had the situation with the ILO saying that SNITs, if we are not careful, by 2036, wahala day. Affordable and diversified energy supply to meet industrial and domestic needs. We have DUMSO to deal with. And, I'm sorry, it's DUM-CSC, according to NAPO. DUM-CSC, my apologies, DUM-CSC. Then, effective, efficient, dynamic, and inclusive institutions that ensure accountability, integrity, and transparency with negligible levels of corruption. Yet, you see the tussle between IOCO and the OSP and the AG. Our institutions can't even work together. 3 issues that are playing out now. Your thoughts?
Yes, let me look at the robust pension scheme. I think that, well, it's an ILO research, so we've
seen the responses.
That is it. That is it. SNIT is bringing out the facts of the situation, but it doesn't mean that we haven't looked at that. The other thing is that where we're concerned in the plan is the informal sector.
Right.
So this is where we've been able to push into the targeting farmers, targeting traders, and bringing them on, and people are doing it. The last count indicated that at least there's a capture of 20% of the informal sector now going into pension.
Wow, that's huge. That's great.
Yes, and that is very, very huge.
Because that is where the biggest gap is.
Yes, and especially those that they are doing for cocoa farmers specifically and other producers of these cash crops is good. Affordable energy. I am so charged
and
when
they talk of industrial and domestic.
Yes,
and industries are bleeding.
Yeah, you see, it's a whole process and a transition. Usually, energy build-up is started at a time and then you gain it. We have an energy transition plan, which is gradually shifting about 20% of our energy potential to renewable, for which we can do, and we've already started. That is very, very crucial. The other thing about it is also the gadgets that we use. We have closed our eyes on that. All the fridge junks, the TV junks, and all these things have been giving a problem. Energy Commission is now up to the beat. And yesterday somebody called me, he's brought 20 fridges into the country and they've seized it at the harbor. I said, yeah, definitely, you need to find a way even to pay for how it can be disposed. Yeah. It's done in other countries. So these
the CFCs
are things, and all that. So these are problems that we have. Any gadget which passes through this country should have a certain amount of energy consumption being approved by the Energy Commission. And they are checking on that. It's now becoming a problem and a real negotiation point between our Energy Commission and GUTA. And we have sat in some of these discussions. So, but we need citizens to back.
But beyond that, we also have our power challenges. I want us to address that briefly and also address the effective, efficient, dynamic, and inclusive institutions that will stand against, will provide integrity, accountability, and fight corruption.
Power build-up is being...
And that's how...
There are 64 opportunities for hydroelectricity in this country. And just a few of them have been developed. We are working on that. I mean, the other one is solar, BUI has been done, and then the other one in Volta Ridge in terms of hydro. All these are things that we are exploring, but it takes time for it to catch up.
Institutions, that's the final point. Final point.
You know, National Development Planning Commission is supposed to coordinate policy, institutions, capacity, implementation, and all that. And it's one of the things we look at it keenly. We have had a situation where we are screening all the national policies in the past, and then currently we are looking at all these regulations. And to be frank, if you want institutional harmony, you need to look at, first of all, their mandates, responsibility, functions. And unfortunately for us, as a country, many of them are conflicting.
Are conflicting?
Yes, many of them. Okay. And therefore, it's something that we are working on. We've gone all the way to we've come out with what we call the policy almanac to look at all the policy in history and current. And the cabinet is giving us, Cabinet Secretariat is giving us a lot of support. AG is giving us a lot of support to be able to push through that. And I'm very sure that by next year, a lot of these harmonies will be able to establish, because that is the point.
Okay.
The gray areas where institutions are conflicting, we need to look at that.
Thank you so much, Doc, for having joined the conversation this morning. It's been really good having you here with us, Dr. Abrampa. And what can we do? We wish you the very best as you go about your duties.
Thank you.
In some 30 seconds, maybe, do you have any final?
Yes, what I would like to bring about is that we're going through what we call a review of the long-term plan. We have done a lot of consultations already. It's already getting into Parliament and also with the professional institutions. And I want Ghanaians to engage. This is very simple. Every 4-year segment, what do we have as a country to achieve and attain? What do we hold our leaders accountable for? And how do we measure this progress? Very simple. It's redefining and reviewing this process to make it very simple for us. Once the approval is done and every process is done, we'll put it on our website for all of us to engage. We'll also go out to disseminate and share with many people as much as possible so that we can all hold our governments accountable, ask questions, be part of the process and be part of measuring. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and once more, our condolences to you. We wish you the very best. That is Dr. Kojo Essiem Mensah Abrampa. He's Director General, National Development Planning Commission, and he's been speaking to us on Ghana's developmental agenda. When we come back after the break, we're going to be telling you about the Apex Court, the Attorney General's push for some specific issues of national interest to be televised on a regular basis, to be put out there for the public to know what is in there or what the thinking of our courts are. We'll bring you details of that when we return from the break. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. We delve into the legal matters. Should we make matters of national scope to be televised, for public consumption and all of that? How about the other discussions from yesterday on the back of the LGBTQI+ bill? Well, joining us right here in the studio, we have Kweku Asante. But before we come to him, let's find out. Let's take you to court and look at some of what happened there.
A preliminary point of law to take with regard to this particular application by way of an objection, and that would be the only ground upon which we would be dealing with this application. And yes, well, there are two ways, but it's actually
you gave no notice of
it. It is
you gave no notice of it, did you?
Not by way of a formal application.
There was intense back and forth between Thaddeus Sori and Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono, who presided over the panel.
I'm sorry.
No, my lady, I've got it right.
You can hear me very well.
Yes, my lady.
You appreciate the pickle we are in.
Yes, my lady.
You filed an affidavit on the 15th of... Please hold on. Don't interrupt me. Please.
Oh, yes, my lady.
Always wait for me to land.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it.
Your substantive application, affidavit before us, is dated the 2nd of April. Listen, let me land. If you had just waited to understand my words instead of rushing to justify yourself, you would have admitted that you didn't have a formal notice to object.
My lady, it's
a lawyer,
yes,
like yourself, like you found yourself muddled up this morning.
Oh,
yes, you have. A lawyer files. I can see what his difficulty is. When you read, you can see he left out some words. You chose to denigrate that what happened in his expressions by describing it as muddled and confused. And the man now wants to correct himself by expressing it fully. And you say you have a preliminary legal objection.
Yes, my lady.
Where is the legality?
The legality lies in the fact that the motion paper invokes the jurisdiction of the court. And if there is an irregularity on the face of the motion paper, which I am pointing out as the foundation to which I am not accepting what he has filed.
No, hold on.
Yes.
Which motion paper?
His motion for injunction.
The man is not seeking. Hold on.
Yes.
Whenever I start, stop. You are going to interrupt me.
Very well.
Then you wouldn't hear what I have to say.
Very well, Mali. That once there's an objection taken to it, you cannot overreach that objection with a proposal to amend.
Hold on.
So that's all I'm drawing the conversation to.
Stop there, Mr. Stop there.
Yes,
Stop there. Now, if you had given a formal notice, anyone would have known. But in your affidavit, you only described your opinion.
No, what I found
That's not a preliminary legal objection.
Well, maybe it is not stated that it's stated as an opinion, but what I was stating what I found objectionable about it. And this court has also said that I don't even need that formal notice, that I can get up when he's about to move and take that preliminary objection. Trustees of the Synagogue Children of all nations. And the strain of them from the court that I didn't need.
Mr. Sorry, I'm not impressed by what you are doing.
Very well,
but just finish it.
I'm sorry. So,
finish it.
So I'm saying that
it's not fair to your friend. I don't think so. But you want to do it, do it.
I'm relying on the authorities from this court to take my preliminary objection, that I'm entitled to take it just when he's about to move it.
So just do it.
And my second point is that...
No, what is your first point?
The Attorney General was not opposed to the application of the lawyers. The court unanimously granted the prayer of lawyers for Richard Alaskai and allowed his application.
Our considered view is that the alleged preliminary objection is unnecessary and does not seek to assist any process before this court. Every party has an inherent right to present the appropriate formulation of their reliefs or other process before the court. The objection is dismissed.
And that was it, dismissed. Well, we have joining us in the studio our very own Kweku Asante. We are privileged. It's an honor to have you join us this morning.
It's good to join Christy.
He reports from Parliament and he also goes to court.
See what you tried to do there.
All right, so just walk us through the salient points from yesterday, because there's a lot to digest, a lot to unpack.
So you heard that the Chief Justice make the court's ruling on the preliminary legal objection that Thaddeus Sorry, lawyer for the Speaker of Parliament, raised against Richard Alaskai's lawyer's application for leave to amend their reliefs. In the reliefs they were seeking, principally to stop the president from receiving the Anti-LGBTQ Bill, they muddled up some words and they wanted to correct that. But Thaddeus Sorry would take up.
He was pretty insistent.
And insisted that that should not be allowed. He wanted the case to proceed as it was. The Attorney General was not opposed to that application that was filed by lawyer Beidou on behalf of Richard Alaskai. And so the court had to make a determination, and they did make that determination in favor of Richard Alaskai,
we just heard
asking him exactly to actually go and file a fresh motion for injunction, and the lawyers would then respond. We expect that this case may travel up until the end of June or probably beginning of July. If care is
but they
not
were given
taken
till the 17th of May.
17th May, then the two parties will also have 7 days to respond. It's going to June. The concern by some people is that if care is not taken, this may go into July, and very soon there will be legal vacation.
And what that means
and that
is...
will not be heard, and then it's going into November, and then December, then it's election, and all this is not going to be heard. And those are the concerns that people like Dafia Mekpo and other persons who are sponsors of this bill have shared. But there's also the second bit about Dr. Amanda Odoi's case as well. And they also raised concerns about what they considered intemperate language that had been used by Thaddeus Sorry in some of the affidavits that had been filed from his law firm. They took great exception to that. The Attorney General also took exception to that. And that is something that the court, presided over by the leadership, the Chief Justice, actually backed and asked Mr. Thaddeus Sorry to withdraw and file same. So ultimately, the substantive case having to do with the injunction applications filed by the two parties, Dr. Amanda Odoi, Richard Alaskai, have all not been gone into. The court spent a considerable amount of time, almost 2 hours yesterday, delving into the technicalities of whether or not a person would need a leave of the court to file more affidavits, to review their reliefs and all that. And so that was what the court did yesterday for almost 2 hours, and they had to adjourn the case indefinitely, sine die. And so we expect that when these protests are filed, probably by the end of May, the court will then, by hearing notice, reconvene the parties to hear the substantive injunction motions that have been filed by both parties. And ultimately, the decision can be taken before the legal vacation. That is what the sponsors are looking for.
Some people expected this to happen, for this process to drag to the point where the LGBTQ bill does not receive the signature of the president till another administration comes. Some started forecasting this a long time ago. Others have also asked about the placement of the hearings of the specific cases. Why are we hearing the Alaska and other ones at this time rather than other motions? What did you gather from court?
So, I mean, what's his name? Sam George was on this show, spoke about what he believed to be a certain sinister plot to actually not hear these cases earlier. We know that the Speaker of Parliament had written to the Chief Justice, just like the Attorney General had done, seeking an earlier hearing of this case. But that was not to be, because I mean, if you look at the timeline, this is clearly not an earlier hearing. This is not an expedited hearing, because these cases were all filed at the end of February or early March, and they are being heard in the beginning of May, and so those concerns have been shared. The Chief Justice is offering no explanations as to why these cases are being heard at this time or not. And in fact, at the time the Timecodes case against the approval of ministers was heard, I asked the Attorney General whether he was going to be interested in getting the court to hear this matter. He said that he was not the person who filed this case, and he was not interested in whatever expedited hearing that would be. The court would have to take their time and reschedule them. So ultimately, the court now decided to file this case at this point, and they've had the preliminary objections that have all been raised, decided, and then in the next few weeks, we are expected to go back to court again. But like you said, some people expected that there'll be a lot of legalese, there'll be a lot of jargons here and there that will actually destabilize the hearing of the case. And they're probably right, because if you look at yesterday, the court did not do any real work on the substance of the applications that is seeking to force President Akufo-Addo to receive the Anti-LGBTQ bill and sign or signify that he's not going to sign it into law.
I'm curious to know how it felt from in there, being in there in the courtroom.
Yeah.
For the first time, most people were seeing the Chief Justice in action. And so many people critiqued how hard she was being in the fiery exchanges. Is this normal, or are we just seeing it for the first time, or is this just how it works?
To be very honest, in courtroom, in the Supreme Court in particular, it's almost always like that.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Tokono, is a very strict judge. For persons who have been in her court before, she's strict. She asks you to adhere strictly to procedure before you get into the substance, because she's of the school of thought that says that the technicalities, that is the procedural law, is as fundamental as the substantive law.
Right.
And so she asks you to do that. So for those of us who've been in her court, we're not so much surprised about that interaction. The bit that got some of us surprised was the fact that, listen, these were a very senior lawyer. Someone like Thaddeus Sori has been practiced for so long. Some of them have practiced as long as some of the persons who are on the bench. And so the expectation was that they would be a little bit soft on all those persons. But of course, the Chief Justice and the bench, they want to be fair to all parties. They want to demand as much from everybody. And like you said, the only two times we've seen the Supreme Court inside like this has been the election petition of 2012, head in 2013, and the 2020 election petition head in 2021. Apart from that, there have been no cases that have been telecast live to grasp the nation's attention like this. And so this was a welcoming development for journalists like us who have a difficult job transcribing what is a very legalese courtroom into language that the public will understand. At least this, everybody gets to watch, they get to understand what is going on, and then you can back it up a little bit with some of the things that have gone on. So ultimately, we expect that up until this case will end, we are always going to enter with our cameramen, we are going to video whatever is going to happen there, and then we can see how it goes.
We can count on you and the other members of the team on our legal desk to be there for us. Kweku Asante, ordinarily, you will find him reporting from Parliament, but today he's reporting from the courtroom. He also does that, a man who wears many hats. But let's also bring in other guests into the conversation. We have Kweku Painso, he's a lawyer, and then we have Michael Augustus Akagbor. He's Senior Programs Officer with the CDD Ghana, specifically on human rights and social inclusion. Gentlemen, good morning. Starting with Kweku Painso, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
All right, it's really good having you. Just a quick one. What are your impressions of the happenings at our Apex Court yesterday in respect of, the LGBTQI plus bill, among others? What are your quick thoughts?
Yeah, I believe it's very welcome in the sense that yesterday was not about a substantive matter before the court. It had to do with an issue of procedure, and I wholly agree with the position that the Supreme Court eventually took by permitting the petitioner, the person who assessed the court, to amend his pleadings or his processes to conform to the reliefs that he's seeking before the court. It's a regular thing that every court is obliged to do, and it will only be refused if they have good reason to believe that the application is not well intentioned. But I mean, it's the time that it took for this matter to be. So I think it's a very quick thing, which is no go to substance. But on the whole, my initial and possibly my final thought is that the Supreme Court did what it's supposed to do. That's my view of what happened yesterday.
And there's also this other point. We'll bring in our other guests on the point, but I also want to find out from you before we proceed. The deliberations, some have said that it was unnecessarily rancorous. What do you make of it? Was there too much rancor, or is this just normal when it comes to the apex court and deliberations there between judge and lawyer?
I would confess that I did not watch the proceedings. All the information I've got is what I read from websites like Joy website and all of that. And from what I heard, there was some hot debate between the president of the court, I'm talking about the Chief Justice, and Thaddeus Sori, concerning an issue which the Supreme Court was minded to grant. I mean, honestly, I've not really read the argument that Thaddeus Sori made in support of his opposition to the request that was made. But I mean, there are certain things that we normally do not even oppose. I mean, application to amend does not go to substance. And the only reason that you oppose this kind of application is to demonstrate that the person, is, what do you call it? Buying unnecessary time, or the person or the application itself is ill-intentioned, and so forth and so on. Because it's a normal thing. Lawyers are human beings. We make errors in everything that we do, and it is very normal for people to seek leave to amend their processes, and leave are normally given as a right unless you can demonstrate to the court that there was an abuse of procedure, and that is to say that the leave that being sought is not well intentioned. So my initial reaction after what I heard in the press or whatever was that intervention or that objection or that opposition was, in my view, with due respect to my learned friend Thaddeus Sori, was totally unnecessary. And I believe that because, the whole idea is that a person comes to court and all that he's seeking to do by an amendment is to say that what I have before the court in terms of everything that I've had is not intact. In other words, and the strict procedure in our court is that you can only address the court on what is before the court. And therefore, if at any point in time you come to the view that there's something else that you should have put in there that you have not put in, and then you want the court to see or hear you argue on that point, the normal thing is to, like I'm saying, request for an amendment. And typically, amendment will normally be given, like I said, until you can demonstrate that there's an abuse of procedure. Because, see, the court is not even supposed to comment on the substance of your application. But the court may hesitate, even if it has to do that. But the point of the matter is that you want to constitute your case. And typically, until the case has run to its logical conclusion, the issue is, if you had run your case along those lines from the beginning, what would have been their procedure? We just have to keep quiet and hear you on your own submissions. At the end of it, then they give their judgment. So, amendments are routinely made, applications for amendment are routinely made, and are routinely granted, subject to what I've said, an abuse and stuff like that. Right. So, an objection that is founded to the substance of the relief that is being sought is, in my view, my respective view, totally unnecessary. That is my view of what transpired in court with regard to the objection that was taken by the lawyer, Dr. Malene Friend Tadesori. That's my view of the matter.
All right, Kweku, point noted. Please stay with us for a bit. Let me now bring in Michael Augustus Akagbor, who's a Senior Programs Officer and Human Rights and Social Inclusion at CDD Ghana. Michael, thanks for joining the program. Give me a sense of your thoughts on the issue of accepting the media into the courtroom. I mean, the Chief Justice in her speech, when she launched Leading Justice, said that it is meet and right to engage people and let us follow the processes, which is not normal. Do you see any connection here between her leading justice and her objectives and agreeing to the Attorney General's request to telecast these issues live? What do you make of it?
Good morning to the listeners. Good morning to you. Well, I thought that from a personal position that, I mean, it is up to the judge to decide what she does in her court. And I do know that the Attorney General had put in the request citing the fact that it is of public interest. And for that reason, he wanted this to be telecasted. My only problem I have with this issue is that I kind of thought that it was a more calculated way of trying to change the narrative of what has been going on in the last couple of days regarding issues about the OSP, the AG, and the IOCO on the issues of Priscilla Japan. So I found it very diversionary that at this moment, when there were serious questions being asked pertaining to certain issues with certain state actors, and when some state institutions were under the microscope of the media and of the public, that we decided that this was the best time we wanted to telecast this event. I thought it was like a red meeting, event.
Well, it's never too late to start, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's never too late to start. No, yeah. That's not what I'm saying. But you see, we find it so convenient when certain things. I'm of the view that I think that a lot of the time LGBT issues have become topical because politicians make them topical. And if you look back in time, anytime we have issues, anytime state actors, political elites are under the microscope of the public, LGBT issues become topical. So I find it difficult to believe in good conscience that this was an actual genuine position of the Attorney General because he wanted to have people are listening into what's going on.
Michael, are you saying that this live telecast of this LGBTQ plus proceedings is a way to squash the ongoing brouhaha between OSP, IOCO, and the Attorney General on the stashed money case involving Cecilia Dapa? Is that what you're saying?
Since yesterday, have you heard anybody talking about that event? Nobody else. We'll be also focused on this very issue because we brought the television into our home. And what we do is that when we do that, we divert attention of people from the real issues we need to be focused on.
But are you suggesting that these issues are not important as well? Because some would also say, I mean, these are crucial issues as far as national life is concerned. I get the point you're making. Sometimes it is used or it could be used as a form of distraction. But does it take away from the essence of it as far as our national life is concerned?
No, it doesn't. But the point is that we have been in court since last year. We have been in court since last year on this very case. So why do you decide at this particular moment this is when you want to telecast this proceedings?
I see. And a quick point, though, for those who have said that there are some attempts to make this drag for as long as possible so that the bill will not be signed into law and it will also continue to then feed into what you are talking about, take away from some of the other crucial issues we ought to be looking at. What is your thinking? Some people feel the courts, everything happening, not getting the president to sign it and all that, it's strategic. It was planned. Do you think so?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I do know that depending on what the court calendar is and how and when they decide to take up their cases. So I will not impute that level of machination to say that the judges or the court is in connivance in a way to want to drag this issue out. I think that we need to allow the court to do what the courts are mandated to do. I have said it earlier in some spaces that the beauty of the executive court is that the mechanism to test the law. So that is what we are doing. Right now, some people want to get judged or declaration for whatever reason. It's not reason for us, the judges, to take up the case if they are not ready to take it up.
Okay, please hold for me. Let me bring back Kweku Penso. Kweku Penso, do you agree with these assertions that Michael Akagbor is making about the issue of silencing the ongoing Cecilia Dapa case with this live telecast of the anti-LGBTQ proceedings in courts? What do you make of it?
I totally disagree with mine. What he needs to know, first, he needs to appreciate that the issues are in different courts. Cecilia Dapa's case, as far as I know, is pending in the High Court. And there are many high courts in Ghana.
Mr. Painter, I don't think it's the courts where it is that he's referencing. He's referencing the attention.
No, I'm trying to provide justification for why it is easy for the Supreme Court or for the Attorney General to request that a matter before the Supreme Court should be telecast. I'm just trying to provide a reason. Why the Supreme Court is just one court. But then, the truth of the matter is that who chooses what is in the national interest? I think the late Professor Ansa was the one who used to say, let's be thankful for, small mercies, that we receive. The truth of the matter is that this business of telecasting matters before the court, first and foremost, justice is administered in the name of the people of the Republic of Ghana. Our courts are open courts. And it's not every matter that, of course, attracts the attention that it requires for everybody to be so much interested. But somebody has to make a choice. And the way I will react to what the Attorney General has done is that we are thankful to God for small mercies. Nobody is going to say that because he said the past matter is in court and this matter is also in court, or every political matter is in court, every political matter that is in court ought to be attended by TV cameras and whatever. There are a lot of political matters that are in court. What will become the basis for determining? But at least we have this matter which is in one court, and the Supreme Court is the highest court in the country. And I will say that what the Attorney General has done is in the right direction. It fulfills the demands of justice that the people must not only hear, they must also see what is done.
I have a quick question for you. I have a quick question before.
Resources and everything to open the court up to all of these things. So I would say that I totally disagree with what my good friend is trying to suggest. With due respect, it's a form of insinuation. And I would rather be grateful to the Attorney General for the small messages that we are getting.
Okay, so that point is made. That point is made. Just a quick one. This matters of national interest. It's like an open field. Which matters are of national interest that you feel should fit into this? Because then you ask yourself, so which issues should be televised and which ones should not?
There is no criteria for determining what must feed the national interest in terms of it being telecast and so forth and so on. It has to be a decision of some sort. But as it is now, we are looking now, it appears to me, at decisions that have political implications for this country. And Cecilia Dapa is one. I've known of other matters that have also running in the High Court of cases, even though are criminal trials, also feeds the political spectrum or the political arena. I'm talking about the case, fertilizer matter, and so forth and so on. So I would leave that decision to the Attorney General. He may determine which cases, in his view, is best suited for live telecast. And I think that it's very appropriate that in the constitutional matter of this nature, Ghanaians are given the benefit of the courtroom experience. For now, that we have not derived a criteria, or we have not formulated a criteria for determining which matters must receive telecasting and so forth and so on, I'm comfortable with the Attorney General using his discretion.
All right.
If anybody believes that there are certain categories of cases that ought to be telecast by reason of their importance or by reason of the national interest,
right,
let us
right.
all formulate a formula for that. But for
Right.
now, I'm content with the decision that Soldier made, and I will not accuse him of bias or any any other interest. I mean, I will not.
Thank you so much.
I don't think the point was to accuse him.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kweku Pinto. But that was not the point. It was just to find out. So what do you think fits into that area? But thank you, Kweku Pinto, for joining the conversation. Sweetie?
Kweku Pinto is a private legal practitioner. We also, Michael, if you have some final words, please do that in 30 minutes, 30 seconds where we can go.
So I was going to say that I disagree with Kweku Pinto's position. And as somebody who has studied extensively the history of LGBT in this country, I find it difficult to believe that it is when state act that the micro LGBT issues come up issues. So I find there's a strong correlation from previous events.
Mr. Akagbor, you would have to Mr. Akagbor. Hello. Please reposition. We are struggling. The line is patchy, so we are not hearing anything you're saying. Please reposition and start again so that we can hear you better.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I said I disagree with Mr. Benton's position, and then that is because having studied the history of LGBT in this country, I always find it interesting that every time states acted, our political elites are somehow under the microscope of public scrutiny, LGBT issues become topical. You can go back in time. You can look to all the times, like for instance, when we had the emolument recommendations for the president's wife, when we had the issue of, I believe, it had to do with the e-levy. All these times, LGBT issues became very topical issues to change the conversation.
All right. Your point's been made.
That is why I find it difficult that this is not another way of changing the narrative of what is ongoing.
Thank you so much, Michael Augustus Akagbor, who's Senior Programs Officer with Human Rights and Social Inclusion under CDD Ghana. And that's how we're wrapping up for this belt of our conversations on the AM show. Benjamin, are you concerned that if we continue this way, we might be overexposing judiciary and the judicial processes? Yesterday, so many comments coming at how the Chief Justice was, punching loopholes in some of the presentations that were made in court.
Well, that is actually what happens in court.
Yeah.
I think the tone or the tenor or the posturing could have been... I don't necessarily feel... I keep mentioning that if you ever followed some of the legal luminaries that we all, Lord Denning and all of those, in their courts and others, it doesn't necessarily have to be rancorous, I don't think. But what you saw there, and the pushing and shoving and the challenges on the letter of the law, it is what happens in court.
That's exactly.
It is right. What it is. I don't have any qualms with that. If the cameras are going to be there, maybe it will just put them on the spot even more, and they'll realize that last one of their actions and utterances have a certain national flavor, or should have that. But right before we veer into AM business, attention to all HD Plus subscribers. Starting from the 13th of June 2024, SCS HD Plus Ghana will provide HD channels to free-to-air TV homes at no cost. This means that all users of the multi-TV platform will have access to HD channels without paying HD Plus subscriptions. Key points to remember. 1. As of the 16th of April 2024, no new HD Plus subscription purchases or activations will be available. Existing HD Plus decoders will receive free-to-air channels until the 13th of June 2024. 2. Subscribers with active subscriptions beyond the 13th of June 2024 will be compensated. Such customers will be contacted by the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 30th of April. Such subscribers are encouraged to call the HD Plus number 0242 439 872 from the 1st of June 2024. 3. From the 30th of May 2024, update your HD Plus decoder to access the new free-to-air HD channels. Support will be available until the 20th of June 2024, so kindly look out for the over-the-air software. Upgrade your decoder upon release of that software. 4, users of compatible Samsung QLED and UHD integrated TV sets should note that the My HD Plus TV app and My HD Plus mobile app will not be available from the 30th of May, 2024. Here's a note, though. To redeem subscription compensation, confirm your HD Plus number, provide a valid Ghana ID or Ghana ID card, and a mobile money number by the 30th of April, 2024. HD Plus will issue the last batch of compensation by the 20th of June, 2024, and will not be liable to make any payments if subscribers remain unreachable or do not follow up with the call center on 0242 439 782 or 872 0242 439 872 before the deadline. We thank all cherished customers for their patronage. We are ushering in a new era of television in Ghana, ensuring that accessibility and quality entertainment go hand in hand. Well, up next, we have AM Business.
Yes, and on today's episode of AM Business, we're taking a look at cost of operations that have surged and could lead to job cuts. That is according to the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs. The Ghanaian economy has suffered some turbulence in the last couple of months. The cedi depreciated by about 12% year to date, leaving its value at 14.8 cedis to the dollar on the open market. In addition, power outages and high lending rates have increased cost of doing business for small and medium enterprises. Now, according to the Chamber, failure to stabilize the currency could potentially derail the SME economy. So in today's AM Business, Joy Business's Isaac Ateshinyako has been assessing the state of SMEs and has been speaking to the Chamber's Chief Executive, Sharif Gali. Here's today's episode of AM Business.
With the cedi hitting about 14 cedis to a dollar and the current power outages, we are here to find out from some small enterprises how they are faring in these times. With me today is the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, Sharif Gali. Sharif, how are businesses faring?
If you look at the beginning of this year, it was a bit more uncertain for small businesses, especially those that are led by young people. And now having issues of the cedi going high, that is affecting businesses, because you see, when the cedi goes, when the dollar appreciates more than the cedi, what happens is that almost everything inevitable increases. Look at fuel now. There's a fear, a lot of people are saying that we may even get it hit 18 Ghana cedis per litre before maybe end of this month or whatsoever. And these are proponents that ensure that we have hikes in business and make things very difficult. You see, people think that when prices or when the cedi depreciates as it has done, businesses enjoy. It's a big lie. It's difficult to even sell in the market. So imagine a young person that imports a lot of products, let's say cars, and they are selling. I have a lot of young people in my chamber that does that. They tell you that the challenge we face is that if a Corolla that I imported in total, everything was about 80,000, and I'm looking to sell it 100, 120 to make my profit. Because of the surge in dollar, if I sell it the 120, 140, I am still running at cost. You would not understand, because you bought it under that price, way more. But the problem is that if the guy sells it to you at the 120, and as you think that they make profit, he goes back to buy again, and the car that he's going to buy is more than 120. So inevitably, or in general, the guy has not made any profit. It means he's just working for the business. So it really affects entrepreneurs. And now let me give you another example. You have a young person who, when fuel prices increase, it more or less tripled down to everything. The standard of living increases. Surprisingly, for the first time, I drove in Accra, and I didn't see a lot of traffic. And I was like, people have parked their cars because fuel has increased. But it doesn't look funny. What happened is that now you pay salaries of your workers. That's your resources that help you to be productive. If you pay their salary and then they get to tell you that, okay, lorry fare has increased, what you are paying them is nothing to write home about. You have to increase. It affects the small business owner, because the business is already struggling to turn around their profit, and now they have to pay a lot of salary, because A lot of things has increased. Standard of living has increased. And their workers are demanding increase in salary. And you know, when you don't do certain things for your workers, you would lose in productivity because people are down, they are not motivated, they will know where. So generally when there is a surge, especially within the major currency that our city treat, that is the dollar, it affects the whole economy. And by so doing, the whole ecosystem, especially businesses run by young people, it's quite serious. And we thought that the central bank had a lot of policies in place so cold to be able to curb the surge of the dollar against the city, but up to now nothing is happening, and it makes a lot of doing business in Ghana difficult. And I tell you that a lot of young people decide to leave business now and look for greener pastures, and that's what is happening.
Then again, if we look at what's happening with Israel and also with the East, it's likely that we are going to see a lot more fluctuations, especially with the currency, because it appears that all of this happens to be strengthening the dollar as against other smaller currencies. Now, in the event of this, how are young or small businesses going to survive the storm, knowing very well that it could get tougher?
So like you said, it could get tougher with whatever that is happening. But you see, when you have an economy that is consumer-based economy, then this is where you cry when there's any little thing in Russia, when there's any little thing in Israel, when there's any little thing in Gaza and all of those areas. Because your economy is largely consumable or dependent on others. If Ghana could really be independent of our own, and at least we could do up to 60-70% of what we consume produce from Ghana, we wouldn't have this problem. If dollar likes, it should go any high by any other factor. But we would be able, our economy would be able to do well. But here is the case: our economy is largely consumable, and you need to always import most of the things, as small as even Manchester box. That is how serious it is. So for young entrepreneurs to be able to sustain, I don't want to give them false hope. Neither do I want to say that things will be good for them. One thing that I would just tell young people is that to be consistent with what they are doing. You see, a lot of times when I've experienced recently a lot of young people coming to tell me that we've heard that dollar is going to increase, so I'm going to buy dollar with my business capital, hoard it. When it increases, I sell it. I was like, what if it reduces? You see, the moment you go and do that, you're also contributing to the dollar being high, because the demand for dollar is going high. So definitely the price will go high. So you as a young person do not have to do that. So I would like to, though it may be difficult for them, they should be more innovative in dealing with their businesses. If we had to use more dollar, we should be thinking of reducing it. Any young person who uses more dollar and thereby creating demand for dollar should be mindful of what we do. We should also be very mindful of supporting the government to solve our challenges. Sometimes we think that, okay, everything should be government. They cannot do all the things. They do not know all. If they know all, then we'll not be in this mess. So all of us need to ensure that we are citizens enough and don't do what is wrong. Like I said, why will you think of buying dollar and hoard it? So that, because you know they say it may get to 18, so they may get to 16, so you sell it and make profit. But that is a young person, that's their thinking. They want to make quick money. So that's what they want to do. So it may be tough for them to do business, but they have to be innovative. Adopt innovative ways. You'll be able to ladder on.
The power outages, how is that affecting you?
I say this. I don't know where to start, but to be honest with you, these are all the small things that happen and businesses collapse. Today we had the launch of the Young Entrepreneurs Co-working Spaces. If not for fossil fuel and a generator, we wouldn't be able to do the program, because all of a sudden electricity went off. So when there's power outages, imagine a young person who runs a barbering shop, a young person who runs a cold store. How would they operate? I have a young person that called me from Tamale that there was something, I don't know whether it was an issue in their area, but the lights went off for like 3 days over tons of fish got spoiled. And nobody is going to support this person. Nobody is supporting. ECG will never own up and say that, okay, we caused it and we want to get you back on your feet. So the person have to pay the loans they have taken. Where are they going to get the money to pay? All the fish went bad and he has to throw them away. So power outage, dollar rising against our city, fuel prices, inflation, hikes in product and services, forget it. We are living in very hard times, and I will not sit here on your television to tell any young person that should be so happy and be jubilating, but we shouldn't lose hope. And we should all come together to support whatever we can do within our corner. I would always appreciate and preach the fact that let us be producing more than we consume. Every young person who is watching me today, think about what you are consuming. Can it be produced in Ghana? If yes, how do you do that? One day this question will lead you to be innovative, and one day you are going to be an inventor of a product that Ghanaians will love and take. And this is what can save us from all the mess we are at the moment.
Briefly, what should government be doing, at least to cushion some of these enterprises in times like these?
For businesses to be supported, government needs to understand that working on their microeconomic indicators, it will help businesses. If we are able to get the city to be stable enough, businesses will strive. You see, businesses always find a way to innovate, to alternate and go on, most of the businesses. But when you don't know what happens in the next 10 days, how then does a business plan to be able to scale? So if government can help in ensuring that we come out with any monetary policy that will stabilize our cedi against this major trading currency, the dollar, then business can sustain. Inflation hike. If every day there is hike in inflation, businesses will definitely collapse, whether you like it or you like it. Businesses will not do well. They can't be able to sustain. We would have to lay off workers. And that is a big burden on government. So at the moment, we need every hands on deck, and government should try as much as possible to consult. You see, we have given you the power, that executive power, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't consult. And that is why we also have experts who are not in government. So consult the private sector, sit with the private sector, sit with the young entrepreneurs. What is actually your problem? A lot of times they think they know what is wrong with us. They are like doctors who think that, okay, your head is paining you, looking at how you look, it's your headache. No, it's not headache. They need to sit with us. They need to sit with the private sector. What can we do? What are the policies? Then we'll tell them what to do. My young people may not need funding, but if you ask government agency, they will tell you that young people only need funding. It's not funding we need all the time. It may be something different. It may be access to the market, as I'm saying. It may be government creating the market access for young people. It may be government becoming the off-taker for the young person who is into agribusiness. But you think in your office, you sit in your office and you think that it's our head that is paining us when it's our stomach, then you don't know what you are doing. So let's consult. Let's come up with policies that will stabilize our cedi and stabilize inflation. At the end of the day, businesses can be able to strive. Else, there will be more layoffs. It's not only Ghana business that are laying off. Even Facebook laid off, Google laid off, a lot of the international ones. We don't want it to happen to Ghana. But then we need to set up as government. And the collaboration, the networking is very important. We need to collaborate. You come and imagine what happened to the bond. Imagine Ghanaians were fully engaged in this. Bondholders wouldn't have had problem. We would understand what is happening. So
finally, the issue of funding. How do we navigate this path?
So for government will need to do whatever they can to provide funding. You see, one thing that we've realized is that in providing funding, government should be a bit more targeted. When I say targeted, you see, when businesses are more sustainable, the corporate entities like the giants, why do you have to give them more money? I don't want to mention, but there was recent one big company we all know that government supported over 600 million loan from ADB. You need to be able to understand that these are my priority areas. What are the priority areas? The startups and the young people. Let me give them funding so that they can come up with the innovations. That is what the Asians did. What they said is that if you're a young person with an idea, come. We are willing to support you. We want to create a CEO from you. And deliberately they are creating CEOs. Every now and that is what is sustaining the economy. That is what we need to do. Government need to prioritize where funding goes to. You don't give funding to those that are already doing well. You look at those that have the potential to grow and give them the funding so they can employ. Now when it comes to the private sector, ourselves, it's not every time that we should sit and also wait for government. I have known development partners for years in Ghana and every year they come out with a grant program. And every year, our entrepreneurs go for the grant. And those same entrepreneurs that go for the grant are the ones that are repeated mostly every year in different grant programs. Why? We are not the only people. We need to be honest to ourselves as a private sector and as people in Ghana. And one thing we have forgotten to do, but for us as the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, we have what we call the Young Entrepreneurs and Startup Support Fund. The idea behind it is that, so we engage our young entrepreneurs across Ghana and ask them, why are we not getting funding to support our business? We realize that all of us are always waiting for a grant, government funding from GE and NEIP. But we have forgotten one thing that is within ourselves. Or say you and I can decide to come together to be able to build each other. I had this brilliant idea from 4 German graduates. When they were in senior high school, equivalent, they saw that, okay, at this age, we want to be entrepreneurs, but we know that we are not coming from rich families, nobody will support us. So what they started doing is that they started putting their contribution, like school fees and all of those little things they get from their parents together, stipends. They started putting them together. And then through to university, through to when they have done their services and they are working for over 12 years. They decided to now go to their bank. You know what? Each one of them were able to build a house and start their business of dream from that fund that they contributed to without touching it for years. This is what we need, and that is what we set up the Young Entrepreneurs Fund for. So by ourselves, for ourselves. As I sit here, I may be able to produce 10,000. You may be able to produce 10,000. Maybe what you need to start your business is only 20,000. Why don't I add my 10,000 to you to start? If you are able to scale, then you are also able to support me. We support our next person. This is how we can support each other. But because we don't trust each other, as private sector, that is our problem. If not, we have the money circulating. Every young person have a 2,000, a 5,000, a whatever, sitting somewhere. But when you ask them, they say, oh, my capital is only 5,000. If your capital is only 5,000 and somebody has a little bit of money, why don't you come together to support each other? And that has been what we've been preaching. Donor partners are doing well, but we can't rely on them. They will be tired one day, they will run away. Busa Fund was here. Busa Fund is no more in Ghana, but used to support businesses. It's no more in Ghana. A lot of them were in Ghana, but they are no more there. So for funding, yes, government should provide targeted funding. That's what I said, targeted funding. Don't give money to those who are already doing well. You are wasting your money. Let me be honest. You are wasting because those people will never employ, because more or less those private sector, they are okay with the number they have because they are working fine. So if you give them 6 million, to scale up 20, no, they will still have their number because they are okay with the number they have. But when you look at a young person who is starting, who has an innovative idea, no matter what they do, they will scale, they will need more risk, they will need resources, human resources to support them, and they will create their jobs. You come and say that, oh, I've given 1 million, 10 billion, all of those money to these big entities and we are not seeing anything. Support the young people, target your funding. Then for private sector, support yourself. Private sector should come together and support ourselves.
You're still watching the AM show on the Joy News channel, and welcome back from AM Business. What I picked from there is that we don't trust each other, not just as business people. I think it's just a thing about us as Ghanaians. We don't trust easily. But before we get into the final belt of our conversations for today, let me tell you about Royal Cozy Hills Hotel. Now, it's time for you to escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, the Jirapa, Dubai. I'm sure you've seen the rest. Now it's time to see the best. Take a break from work and take a break from the south. The Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, that is the Jirapa, Dubai, is the next best place to relax, to rewind and re-energize. It is away from the stress of the south. Now, this is what awaits you. 1, unforgettable safari experience. Amazing array of wildlife, including lions, hippopotamus, zebras, ostriches, among many others. And they use their spacious and well-secured game tour vehicles and quad bikes for your entertainment. 2, water sports, such as jet skiing, boat or canoe rides, among others. 3, various family games to keep you and your family excited and entertained all day long. And 4, great tourist attractions in the Upper West region, including the Mushroom Rock, the Slave Cave, among other exciting places you want to visit. So, escape to the south, escape to the north, escape to Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, the Jirapa, Dubai, for an unforgettable safari experience. You can call them on 050 169-4280 or 024-88-44463 for reservations and further inquiries. Away from that, let's talk about Quick Credit on their rebranding and a 15-year anniversary celebrations. Joining me in the studio from Quick Credit is Romeo Richlove Kwekuseshi, who is the CEO of BIOS Microcredit Limited, BIOS, and Nuhu Salifu, the head of finance and administration. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hope you're feeling good this morning.
Feeling great.
What does Quick Credit do? Before we even talk about rebranding and your 15-year anniversary, what does Quick Credit do?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity and very good morning to your cherished viewers. BIOS Microcredit, formerly known as Quick Credit, is licensed by Bank of Ghana to operate the business of money lending. BIOS Microcredit started some 15 years ago as one-man business in 2009. In 2011, a limited liability company was incorporated that took over the management of the business from the sole proprietor, Mr. Richard Ni Amakwe. BIOS Microcredit has been operating for the past 15 years. It started by operating with branches. At a point, it has 25 branches. And at the outbreak of COVID-19, we deemed it necessary to transition from branch operation to branchless operations.
Okay.
So currently, Quick Credit operates with its only office at Osu in Accra, serving every community in Ghana.
Okay.
So Quick Credit has various products for everybody. So if you need loan for anything at all, we are there for you.
Okay.
Quick Credit gives loans to people who are already in business and intend to expand their operations. We give loans to salary workers. We give loans to people who are having one emergency or the other that need finance. And we also give loans to people with soft skills that intend to start their own businesses. So anything loan, anything credit, Quick Credit is the house for loans.
And after 15 years, now you're rebranding. Nuhu, tell me a bit about that. Why are you rebranding from Quick Credit to Bills?
Yes, we will realize that in our everyday encounters, people go through a lot in their daily encounters, be it payment of fees, be it payment of utilities, be it payment of financing their funerals. I mean, they go through a lot because of their financial needs, their daily financial needs. If you go down there, you might see somebody standing at a corner, I mean, with the hands on the head. He's probably thinking about how to get the finance for either his family feeding or for his family school fees or to clear goods from the ports. And the overarching word here is what? Bills that is causing the person to what? Have this sort of thinking. So the name Bills is to resonate with our everyday encounters and the problems that we go through as a result of our financial needs. It's in that once you are confronted with these daily needs, what should come to your mind is that BIOS Microcredit is there to rescue you.
So it doesn't matter from BIOS, right?
Yes, please, okay. BIOS. So it doesn't matter the sort of need that you are going through. Once it is something financial, BIOS Microcredit has a solution for you.
So every time you think of the quick way to get some quick cash to pay your bills, you think of bills.
Exactly.
I think that's a smart way to put it. So what are some of the things we should expect that's different from how Quick Credit was operating and now that you've transformed into bills? What's different this time?
Okay. Quick Credit was operating, giving loans to people with the expectation that they will make repayment themselves. So when we disburse loans to you, we expect that you use the USSD code to make payment. But many are times that these clients also default in repayment. So we usually move to their residence to recover what is rightly due the company. But some few occasions we are met in some situations that became public as if Quick Credit is not being managing the client well. So we deem it necessary that, okay, at this point, we've listened to our various stakeholders, and let us transition from we giving loans and going for recovery by focusing only on recovery and outsourcing that aspect of loan recovery or debt management to a professional institution that specializes in that area.
So like debt collectors?
Yes.
Okay.
So Quick Credit now will focus on the loan appraisal process leading to the disbursement of loan, and issues relating to a recovery has to be handled by external parties and their lawyers. Quick Credit, Bill's microcredit will only remind you, prompt you, either through SMS or phone call that your repayment is due. And if you are not making your payment, action will be taken by a different party altogether in the recovery of the loan.
Okay.
Yeah. We've listened to the public. We give loans. Currently, we are serving over 450 clients, active clients. 450,000 clients. So
450,000
clients. We disburse to over 15,000 clients on weekly basis. So, and we are pushing about 40 million Ghana cedis in disbursement every week. So in few occasions, maybe in a whole year, you have 2 or 3 cases that comes out there. So the percentage of 2 in relation to 450,000 clients is negligible, but this issue comes as a whole lot of issue in the public domain.
Okay.
So we deem it necessary to redeem our image by outsourcing the aspects of the business.
Okay, that's an interesting new experience that I think your customers will be exciting to hear about. And before we get into how you're marking your 15 years anniversary, I'm sure after operating for 15 years, you've made some significant impacts in the lives of your customers, the communities where you operate. Tell me a bit about that.
Okay.
I think over the past 15 years, especially those who join us and they've been with us throughout this period, they can attest to the fact that their businesses is no longer at where it were. They've been able to improve, expanded their business, and people who otherwise were not having money to even start their own businesses, they now own their businesses. And we also created jobs throughout the whole country,
right?
Because we operate across the 16 regions of Ghana. And currently, we employ over 1,500 Ghanaians who are working in the company. And I think this is remarkable.
Okay.
We are also been fulfilling our corporate duties in the area of taxation and others to the states. So I think largely we are also contributing significantly to the growth of this economy.
In no small way.
Sure.
Right. So how are you marking your 15 years of operations? What's the big idea behind your 15 years anniversary? Romeo.
Okay, we intend to celebrate this anniversary to tell our success story, where we started from and where we are today and what we have in stock for our customers going forward. We intend to recognize some of clients that have worked with us over the years. Those loyal customers, it's great to reward loyalty. We also intend to recognize the effort of some of the staff who have worked over the years with the company and saw the company through its challenges to where we are today. We also intend to give back to society. We've been doing so on yearly basis, but this one, we want to do something significant to all regions of Ghana in the area of education, health, and other projects that are based on the needs of some of the communities that we are operating with. So we have so much in stock for Ghanaians, our customers, and as I said earlier on, we want to tell them what we have in stock for them.
Okay, so is there any activity, just one activity that they can look forward to? No, before we go, we have to go.
There will be a launch in June, as my CEO has said, and at the launch, a whole lot of activities
will be unveiled there. Okay, great. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And we're looking forward to this new experience from Bills Microfinance. So there you have it. If you're thinking about a quick way to make some quick money to pay your bills, then Bills Microfinance is your best bet. In the studio with me was Romeo Richlove Kweku-Seshi, the CEO of Bills Microfinance, Microcredits Limited, and Nuhu Salifu, the head of finance and administration. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Right, before we go, here's a question. Are you tired of the same old political rhetoric? Do you believe it's time for a change that truly represents the voices of our youth, women, and children? Introducing Nana Kwame Bediako, the presidential candidate, who's not just promising change, but actively working to make it happen. Nana Bediako is not your typical politician. He's a visionary leader with a passion for making our country better through innovative industrial revolution. Together, we can change the political narrative and create a government that truly represents the interests of all citizens. So, if you're convinced, join Nana Kwame Bediako on this journey to build a better and inclusive future for all by contributing to the Safe Ghana Fund campaign. Your support, no matter the amount, is not just a donation, it is an investment in the shared desire for a more prosperous, equitable, and better nation. So visit www.nkb.com.gh or dial *887*2024, that's 2024 hash, to donate your money to fund this campaign for Nana Kwame Bediako. And that's the end of the AM show, the conversations, but we have photo of the day and we'll open the phone lines in a bit. We are back in a jiffy. Don't go away. Hello, Benjamin. Welcome to the AM show.
I'm your guest.
Yes, you're my guest. And my audience want to talk to you. They want to call you and tell you what's on your mind. Yes.
They want to talk to you too.
Our cherished audience. If you want to talk to Benjamin, he's here. I've invited him into the studio. So the call line on your screen, 0302-211-691. Call Benjamin and tell him what's on your mind. Oh, we already have Akagbor from Kumasi on the line. Akagbor, thanks for joining us. What do you have to say to Benjamin today?
Hey, my brother, you see, my brother is me too. And he's a peaceful man. And you two, you are looking very nice.
Thank you.
So the two combination is so perfect.
Thank you.
My brother, I have to come and visit you one day.
Are you?
Welcome there.
We hear you.
Okay. A very good morning to everybody. I just want to commend the Attorney General. You know, with me, when someone does something which is good, it's only proper and fair for you to commend him. And I think it should continue. Why am I commending Dr. Gabi? For petitioning the Chief Justice for her to telecast this ongoing trial, the LGBT trial live. You see, it's not time that the discretion of the Chief Justice must come to play in this case. You know, you have a lot of cases that are so constitutional and of high public interest. In order to prevent the pollution of issues and stories, tracing of stories, and in most occasions, it tends to undermine the revere court. I think some of these things should happen. Yesterday, you see the way the Honorable Chief Justice was instructing and disciplining senior lawyers, asking them to follow the law. She will not allow you to even go that way. I think if you have society which is telecast live, it will happen.
Right.
Okay.
Akagbor. To see what people make up. So I've got it up.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. We are pressed for time, so we'd like to take bite-sized comments. You can call that number 0302-211-691. Share your thoughts with us this morning. I agree with him. I mean, I'm all for this. Some people say, is it going to overexpose the judiciary? But the courts should know for themselves. If you are bringing the cameras in there, you should know what to do and what not to do. And it will also, in a way, demystify the legal processes, the legal system, the justicial system, the courts in themselves. So, yeah.
That's, sort of what the Attorney General himself was saying yesterday after the proceedings. Richard from Obuase joins us on the line now. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, sweetie.
What's on your mind?
Good morning to Benjamin.
Good morning, Chief.
Benjamin, when you were speaking to the Director General for NDPC, a lot of things were funny. As a country, we really don't go by the National Development Plan. Last time I told you about partisan politics destroying Ghana. And every party campaigns with its own manifesto, the things that they will do when they come to power. They come and try to fulfill those things. Most of them, they are not able to do it. They'll give excuses. There's a change in government. The new government comes with its own different manifesto as well. They come and implement them. They are not able to finish. They don't continue what the previous government started. Let me give you an example. The National Cathedral, is it in the National Development Plan? Is it in Ghana's plan to build a National Cathedral? No. The Director General was saying a lot of things, which did not impress me. We don't go by a National Development Plan. We don't go by any plan. Political parties come with their own plan, execute them. New government comes and not continue. Right. Look at the numerous projects started by previous governments, previous administrations. This current government came and abandoned most of them. Example is e-blocks. In fact, we really need to go by the development plan that we set for ourselves. Okay. We need to have one plan, immediate, midterm, and long term. Right. And there might be a provision in the Constitution which makes sure that every government will continue previous projects by the previous government.
All right.
This thing of trying to implement my own policy, having, how do they call it? They have a certain name for it.
I think your point is
priority programs, like the National Cathedral.
Right.
Look at the money we invested in it. I'm telling you that when there's a change in government, the new government will never continue.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts.
The partisan politics is just too much. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on these matters. I think we cannot take any more calls, but we're grateful that both of you, Akonoba and our last guest, have spoken so passionately. Right before we go, our photo of the day. And
coming up any second now.
It's going to get you thinking. That's our photo of the day coming up. That is a nursing mother with her belongings, whatever she has in life, by her, her chaliwate, her slippers. She's using a piece of block or brick to hold her cloth down, and that's her child, sleeping rough with her. And this is also relevant because Mother's Day is approaching, and this is how some of our brothers and sisters live every day.
All I see, Ben, is a mother's love.
A mother's
no
love.
No matter what the circumstances are,
She's there for the child.
Yeah, she holds you dear.
And that's a baby girl.
Yeah.
You can see from the earring, that's a girl. You ask yourself, what kind of future, if there are no interventions, what kind of future will that little girl have? By way of feeding, nutrition, her brain's development, by way of education, economics, it goes on and on. But anyway, that is how we're capping off the day. These pictures make me sad. You know, sometimes they just get me thinking so broadly into so many different things. But it's been a pleasure coming your way. My name is Benjamin Akagbor, and she is...
I'm Sweetie Abochi. Thank you so much for joining us for this 4-hour program. We hope to see you again tomorrow, Friday.
Up next, Joy News Desk. Do stay.